Everyone, this is the Rutland Town Select Board regular meeting for Tuesday, December 19th. It's 2023. We have present in the room Kurt Hathaway, Joe DiNardo, Mary Ashcroft, and Matt Getty, and on the phone, Select Board member Sharon Russell. So we have a full complement tonight. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First item on the agenda is the approval of the select board minutes for the meeting on December 5th, 2023. So first I'll entertain a motion, and I do have a change.
To approve.
Motion's been made to approve.
Second.
All right, any discussion, deletions, additions before I get to mine? Okay, so mine is on page 2. It was under the testimony on Dyer Road, giving up Dyer Road as a town road. I would like to add under 2B, the 2B says there has been illegal activity going on. At the end of it, I would like to add and cost to clean up trash and cost of removal of camper estimated at $2,000. Was that agreeable to everyone?
It's accurate.
Okay. All right, so with that change, any other changes? If not, all in favor of approving those minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Sharon's and I passes unanimously. Thank you. Next is the meeting of the select board for December 11th. This was our budget meeting last week. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and then seconded to approve the minutes. Any additions, deletions, corrections? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Sharon, was that an aye?
Yes.
Well, I'll vote aye. You did hear her? Okay. All right. So motion carries and the minutes are approved. All right. And then the minutes of the police committee for Wednesday, December 6th. We had 2 of us here, so I think what we usually do is just receive them into record.
We don't. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So takes care of the minutes. Next item on the agenda. Any board member announcements? Thank you. Looking around. Sharon, do you have any announcements?
No, I just made it home though.
Yay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us. All right.
Welcome.
Update from the board chair. I think I've got little bits and pieces in several things, so I'll just let them go until we hit the item on the agenda. Any questions from the floor or public comments? And our audience tonight is limited to 3 people in the back row. Or if you count Bill.
The cool kids in the back row.
Yeah, the cool kids are in the back row. Anybody on the screen who wishes to be heard on anything, except it unless you're, up for a report anyway. Okay, moving right along. Kari Clerk, town clerk and treasurer. And while you're working your way up here, let me just say thank you tremendously for the very huge effort you put in yesterday and for the previous 2 or 3 weeks, pulling all of our grant application for our bond together, pulling all of the loose pieces together. And it was filed yesterday on time with all of the pieces, parts, and to all of the folks who pitched in, Ed Clark especially for his piece on that. Andrew for his piece and all of the stuff you did, and bond counsel for coming through. So,
and you as well. You helped me tremendously, and Susan helped with pieces of it as well.
and who did?
Susan.
Susan, yes. So our application for a bond is in.
Now we wait.
Now we have one other little thing that we need to deal with tonight.
Oh yes, that's right. We do. I don't really have a whole lot to report. I know that I've been inundated with the bond.
Yeah.
And then doing several figures for different things that we've talked about. So really, I don't have a whole lot to talk about. We met as a finance committee this morning, but it was also a / police committee. So I don't know if that's ready to be talked about, but that's pretty much all I have, other than I submitted the bond and we're in budget still. So,
Well, as long as we are talking about the bond and we have everyone here. So if you would look under action item D, this is bond to discuss consideration of validation resolution public safety building. You remember that we passed one of these last meeting thinking that we were fixing some things. Actually, bond counsel reviewed a different section of the requirements for applying for a bond and found that we need to do a second curative resolution, which he drafted for us. I'm not going to read it, but the gist of it is, in order to apply for the bond, there's a state statute that applies. There are very specific requirements for publicizing the need for a bond in 4 times in a newspaper of general circulation. And it's very specific on what days or how close or far away from the election it had to be. So we kind of missed. We put 4 ads in the paper, but we missed exactly on the timing. And then the publication has to be posted in 5 places in the municipality, not the usual 4. So, but we feel confident, given all of the other publicity we had in the open house and everything, that we've covered this. So that's the statute. The statute also contains a curative section that says if you screw up any of these things, well, it didn't exactly say if you screw up any of these things, but you may fix it by going to the select board, and 2/3 of the select board have to agree to pass a resolution such as the one before you, that basically says we did give sufficient notice to the townspeople for the vote on the bond authorization. So
Move to approve the curative validation resolution as presented to us.
okay,
Second.
motion's made and seconded to approve the curative validation resolution. Is there any discussion? Okay, I'm going to do a roll call because this requires a 2/3 vote, which means 4 of us. So, Joe DiNardo,
Yes.
Sharon Garofano Russell.
Yes.
Say it again, please.
Yes.
Yes. Kurt Hathaway,
Yes.
Mac Eddy,
Yes.
Mary Ashcroft, yes. Okay, so it passes unanimously, and I'm going to circulate this for signature. Kari, you do need to sign this. What is today? The 19th?
19th.
Okay,
Thank you to bond counsel for being all over this and getting it done.
yes.
It's good to hire somebody that knows what they're doing.
I know, we're at the peak of our knowledge on how to apply for a bond,
We really are.
and then we'll lose it all the next time we have a bond. So,
Should
I don't
should
recall
make a
any of it.
binder?
I don't recall any of this coming up 10 years ago.
well, that's
when they
kind
did
of
the
what-
other building.
Yeah.
So
I don't
either
know.
we did everything right or we missed something. But the building.
But they gave us the money, and
Yeah, the
so
building's
we're
up
not
and
giving
we're-
it back. So we're
You
good.
know,
Okay, So that's circulating and that will, actually, I think it'll go right to you.
And I'll probably.
You have to do an attest
Okay,
at the bottom.
and he gets it,
You
Tomorrow?
scan it right to
Mr.
him,
Fletcher,
copy me, copy probably,
everybody.
the select board and Kevin wants a copy
Okay.
too. Okay,
Hey,
okay, thank you.
Do we need Kari to stick around for the subsequent police budget discussion?
I think so because it relates to the Cortina funds, the hotel funds.
Should we do that sooner?
Do you want to move that up so you can get out of here? Yeah.
sure.
All right. If there's no objection, since Kari is here, we would like to move to the Personnel Police Committee meeting that we had this morning, which also includes the new numbers for the police budget. And do we run off a police budget? Is it right there?
I take Sharon.
Minutes of the budget are on desk.
Okay,
Job, Bill.
thank you very much. All right, there's the police budget.
Keep track of this paperwork on my desk.
Yeah,
This is these are
Committee.
hotel fund things. Is there?
okay, and
Oh, here
you
we
should
go.
also have
Okay.
before you,
Couple of other sheets.
yes, the thing with the blue, there's 3 or 4 pages in that. Okay, landscape printed, and then a single sheet which has Cortina or settlement funds projections. So all of those are relevant to what we're talking about. And this is where I say, okay, take it away, Matt.
All right, well, I'm just glancing over these minutes since these are hot off the press. Most of this is recapping our efforts to get a handle on the balance of the hotel funds and also to project what was going to be remaining as of the end of this fiscal year, which requires a number of assumptions on our part. Also, importantly, we had discussion with Andrew about how to properly report how we're using those funds. And essentially how this is going to appear. You'll see on this draft budget worksheet at the bottom on the second page, there's a line inserted for subtracting whatever number we end up applying from the hotel funds from the total budgeted expenses. That way we'll end up with a net general budget number. That'd be the amount to be raised by taxes. So rather than showing it on the revenue side, it's coming off
Comes off the back. Comes off the back, so the front.
because it's an application of monies from a fund that was income in the prior fiscal year.
Right.
So
It's not
instead of putting it on the
anticipated
top
income for
income,
the
it's an,
budget
it's
year.
an actual one. Yeah.
So, and then as far as the minutes, the only other thing to note in there is we authorized the purchase of those speed signs that we've discussed in past meetings. So on the budget front,
We did, did we pass that at the last meeting? The speed signs?
No, I don't think we voted on it. I think we
need
talked
a
about
board
it.
vote on it.
We sent it to our committee. Our committee met, we recommended to the full board. Is there a motion on the speed signs?
Move to approve the purchase of the speed signs per the quote from Soccer Radar. This was the money for this was in the current budget.
So I'll second the
6,000.
motion.
Motion seconded. Motion's made by Matt, seconded. Total price is $6,000.
And those will be affixed
Two?
to the two signposts that are already there, right?
Correct.
That's what they'll be. Okay.
Any further? We've
Other than
budgeted
that's not
for,
my thought of the best location. I understand the need to put them there.
We can always look into moving them someday.
It's at a later time.
Maybe
We can
we
prove them up. You know why I'm saying that.
I
You're
know.
gonna go by that sign and by the time they get top of the hill, they'll be doing 35 again.
Yeah.
But then JP will be up there waiting for him and then he can give them double fine because they didn't obey the first sign. I like that.
Okay, so any further discussion on the stalker radar speed signs? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries, so thank you. And this comes out of this year's budget, which
Right,
is
is-
why it was a little higher and now we've gone down a little in that
The
particular.
budget we're currently in. that we
Yes,
have to this-
Okay. thank you.
So on the proposed budget, and I'm hoping somebody gets, so the outside detail salary,
Mhm.
I'm figuring this is the directed patrols that we're doing.
Right.
And so I don't,
So
that amount of money, it's like, it's an amount you can spend, so you're limited to a certain number of hours. Do you feel, Ed, that that's, because you're kind of the guy orchestrating it with the two constables and your officers to do this, is that enough money for them to adequately do that? Because those funds are going to be injected into your budget, and I'm guessing this is the best way to, for bookkeeping purposes, to show how that goes with, rather than let them stand alone, the Cortina monies. So there will be a income line that will offset that. But I want to make sure that we're not shorting your directed patrol so that when that 55 is gone and we're not out a year yet, then you're going to say, okay, now what do I do? Because
So
And if you
Matt
put-
can answer that.
okay,
'cause
and if
we
you
went
put too
through
much
this. Yeah,
I had a little conversation with Mary. I didn't know
Yes.
if I was gonna make the meeting this morning. My big concern was that we were gonna put too much Cortina money injected into this budget to offset things and then not use it.
Yeah.
And then you guys lose it because it goes into the
Right.
capital
And I
improvement.
mentioned
We
that.
don't want that to happen at all.
Right.
So some way that it doesn't, we don't run out, but we don't have too much.
So there's a couple things to address on that, but I think maybe what we ought to do is actually take a step back first and look at all the other stuff in the budget first. We knock that out, and then the things that we have kind of to address that are the big differences are the addition of an officer and how to handle the outside detail, and how much, because ultimately we need to decide how much of the hotel fund money we're putting in this budget. Having said that, I think if we don't use that money, Andrew's reminded us what we need to do at the end of each fiscal year is another resolution saying whatever's in this, we intend to carry over for that purpose. So that it doesn't
Right.
get swept over. But these things are all interrelated because to whatever we put in from that fund is money we're not spending from the amount raised by taxes. So if you're kind of
Right, this
shuffling
is what
money from one place
I've
to
never
another.
gotten a good, clear answer from anybody, how the town manages non-taxpayer dollars like this. When you have this fund and you have it. One of the things that I would have liked to have seen is the ability for the chief to hire a fifth officer out of those funds now,
well,
but, and not wait a year.
that
'cause-
is actually there.
Right, but that's a year away.
That's a year away.
So is there a way, and that was some of the things I wanted to bring up at your meeting this morning, but it didn't work out for me, was that could we hire an officer and pay them out of the funds we have? Because I believe we have enough to pay a year's salary in there.
It's interrelated with how much we decide to use towards these other things, but
Right.
Right.
so we'll see that in a second.
Okay,
So, on the income side of things, the only thing we're actually including here is the reimbursement we get from the school district for the SRO. And so that amount was increased to reflect the Well, that's interesting news. Interesting breaking legal news. So I won't go into it.
We passed the resolution.
No, other national legal news. Okay. Anyways, so that number has been increased to reflect the 4% increase in salary. So then obviously, there's an additional officer in here. So between the increases in salary and that fact and the social security line increases on expenses and Kari, I assume that's been updated to reflect all those numbers we went through earlier because some of those got adjusted. Okay, great. All right. So, next line is just the increase on the chief's pay.
I do have one question real quick. Why was our actual for the SRO reimbursement 60,000 instead of the 35,000 that was?
I think it was a timing thing, wasn't it?
I can explain that.
I was just curious.
Because the last quarter, we bill it and we got the money after the fiscal year. That's why.
All right. That's fine.
Okay. Outside detail, we plugged a number in there. We'll come back to talk about that. Deputy chief salary, same thing. Okay. Now, first officer. Now, this is Officer Placus, and a lot of discussion about pay rates, competitiveness. What are the implications of hiring a new officer? Where should everyone be relative to that and to other departments, et cetera? And so, and on this line, we're proposing an increase that's over and above the 4% for him as a result of those discussions. SRO salary, there it's the 4%. There is a difference in the licensing between the two of them.
Licensing.
What's the proper word?
Like
Certification.
Certification. That's the word.
Certification. Yeah.
So Placus is a level 3 and SRO is a level 2. So now we've plugged in a potential salary for the third officer.
Is that enough?
The amount's gonna, well, we don't know. And part of it's gonna also depend on the level of certification that person has. And,
at this point, we want to talk about
there's money. Well, let me just comment too. There's money on the training line that we have here. So if they're level 2 and we have to send them to academy, there'll be money in there for that. If they're not, if they're level 3, then we can move some money around to handle that if we need to increase the number. Chief.
I just want to, I hate ever seeing you get shortchanged and we don't have enough to hire who you want.
Yep.
So,
Well, and the other thing is we can always, again, if we have enough funds in the hotel fund and we have to take a special vote to cover something, I guess we could do that too if we're going to be out of budget, but that's something we can deal with.
We're talking about the sign-on bonus.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah.
We have approved one in the past. We also have to be careful with the third officer so we don't automatically put a new hire ahead of our school resource officer.
Right.
Okay, so
I'm just guessing you get somebody with the same certification, you may end up having to start them at the same level, but I don't know. I don't know how some of this, it depends on where they're coming from and
yes,
what the competition's like out there. The hardest part is finding the individual to put into that spot.
So I think we have some flexibility in here to deal with that.
Just, all right.
Okay, overtime. This is, general overtime, other than outside detail.
This is normal working hour.
Normal working overtime, which the
When you get
department
called to a
has-
fatal on the East Pittsford Road at whatever time of night, right, Ed?
It's something they've managed to keep the minimum in the
And
past when
Ed
possible.
reminded us too, as part of our personnel discussions, that we do need to adopt a comp time policy. And that will allow the officers to take off time instead of being paid overtime. Take off time, make it up at a different time. So
Yeah.
those two, and that should happen within this fiscal year because Teresa Mealy, I think, has already drafted it for us.
That's why we hired her.
That's right. Okay, so again, office staff admin salary is 4%. Communication, let's see, there was there was something additional you were purchasing here, I think, or the
it
cost of,
Well, this budget year, the phone system, I think, costs all of us quite a bit of money. $3,000 came out of our budget, I think, for that. But this, if we had to add another, because it's $25 per radio, we'll have 5 radios a month.
Yeah.
Plus, then we have our phone bill. We have Valcor, and we have Office 365.
so some of these,
$900 a month.
some of these lines are gonna have increases due to the addition of the
Well, yeah.
another officer, so that's one. So again, uniforms, there'll be some expense there. Equipment, this was a catch-all, but
This
we
is,
determined we were actually able to reduce this number I think because there was a 6,000 in there for the
yeah,
sign
what we
before.
just passed.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, fuel maintenance will go up a little bit. Training, there again, we increased that line, so we have some flexibility there, whether it involves the academy or we use some of that towards salary if there's coming in with a higher level of certification already. Why do we now have no number on liability vehicle?
Because that's Ed's.
That was my other
Oh,
cruiser.
and so now that's gonna be covered under the general budget if it's, or,
What are we talking about?
So this
Insurance?
was an extra insurance if I drove the cruiser on my own time.
Right.
You got rid of that, right?
So I'm planning, per the contract, I plan on turning that car back over to town and have a little difficulty locating the title. I tried to get a copy from the state, states that there's no way for you to prove that you don't have a lien on it. So they wouldn't give me a copy of the title, so I have to figure that out.
Car's paid for.
It's been paid
Yeah.
for 3-4 years now.
Right.
And then the liability insurance will be under our ordinary VLCT.
so this was just an extra amount that we had to
So
cover
you-
for that.
So we'll have a car available then?
For another officer.
Okay, cool.
Planning to
Chose
use,
not to sell it. for
planning
that.
to, originally, when we authorized the purchase of the new cruiser, the idea was the old one would get sold, but now we're thinking it makes sense to hold on to it for as long as it's still
Right.
useful, and we'll cross that bridge when it
And
comes.
that's also why we don't have any number in vehicle purchase lease, because we're hanging on to it.
Right.
Okay.
All right, now health insurance,
It is what it is.
Yeah, it went up a
Uh,
lot.
Well,
And this is anticipating a new officer with a family policy,
Right.
in addition to the increase for the.
so we don't know, could end up being less
this
than that.
is,
Yeah.
this is where we are.
Mhm.
And then retirement, adding
Everything goes up with
snare
everything.
canine program. There, I guess we don't budget anything for that. So there you are. So that's our total budgeted expenses. So now, I would say, set that aside for a moment. And I'll refer to these other sheets. What you see on this sheet here with the blue bar at the top, that number in the upper right-hand corner, that's the number we determined would be remaining
Mhm.
in the hotel funds at the beginning of this current fiscal year. So after we did an allocation of expenses and everything the prior year, that's what was left. And then,
If I can interrupt just for a minute. When we had talked previously, that number was around 182,000. But that was at 10% of using
Right.
10% overhead. With Andrew's help and Kari's help, we went back and took a look. And so we're allocating more like 13 or 14%. So that means more money coming out of the Cortina Fund for the last fiscal year, which reduces that amount to 165,555.
to be clear, that 13% is based on the time spent by the officers that were primarily responsible for dealing with that situation. It's and their time on directed patrol. So it should not be construed as how a reflection of how much time the department actually spent overall on issues in the south end. It's you know, doesn't come close to that because it's not reflecting time spent during normal patrol, normal shift.
This
But
is just
for-
the
for-
extra.
Yeah, but for purposes of wrapping up last fiscal year, you know, that seemed to be what would make sense because it's a number that we have a reference for, and we can put that year to bed and then figure out what we've got to work with going forward. So that's how we ended up with a 165 number. And then obviously there has been additional revenue that has come in since that time. Now, what I'm not seeing on this sheet though is it's down on on the third page. You'll see some funds coming out. That is the vehicle, the cruiser purchase.
Point of clarification that the funds there, that 165, that included the 75,000 lump sum payment, right? No,
That 165 is from last fiscal year.
Yeah,
last
so-
fiscal year, but do you remember when we first started the thing, they paid us 75,000?
Oh, yeah, that included, all the revenue.
From that. So
From-
that
yeah,
would have been that first amount, because I think we voted like, I don't know, it seemed like a long time ago for you to use that money to buy a car. And I'm guessing the car you just got is that car.
It is.
Okay. It took like you, what, 2 years to get it? Right there?
It seems.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, I think so.
That came a little bit quicker.
Yeah, it did.
We ended up switching to the Chevy to get quicker.
Whatever.
Yes.
But anyway, so that's where that came from. So, okay.
So, let's see. So what you've got, you know, beginning on the first page, continuing on, are allocated expenditures for direct patrol and the expense of that we had authorized for the new cruiser. Now, Kari, question. Now we anticipated there's another $15,000 or so of outfitting that cruiser. Now that's
So-
not yet done. Is that?
So you're gonna you wanna finish up this spreadsheet and explain to them the different things on this spreadsheet, because the next spreadsheet, this one,
Has the
has the difference in it
Okay.
of what you guys approved, the 75, but right now we've only actually spent 57 of that. So there's a difference that we're trying to anticipate happening this fiscal year and where we're going to be at the end of this fiscal year on this spreadsheet.
Right. So the let's see. Okay, so the 38,000
Where are you looking?
okay, on the last page here, the 38,000 is the allocation, the anticipated allocation for other expenses.
Where are you looking?
Oh, you know what? Let's just look at the box here, the summary. That's the
Oh, yeah,
easiest
yeah,
place.
yeah.
Okay, so you've got
Yes, that's this year's allocated expenditure. The box,
so that's the total, yeah, right. So total expenses for the department to date, right? And then you're just allocating based on the amount of patrol
because
time.
I made a new one
Okay.
for them.
So,
Actually, but the bottom line here is as of December 31st, this calendar year. And this sheet, this separate sheet is for the rest of the fiscal year.
so what this, yeah,
That's
so
right.
this, when you get down to the end here, the projection here is 197.37 that's left as of the end of this
This year.
Calendar year.
calendar year.
Yeah.
End of this
It's
month.
at December 3rd,
Okay.
December 3rd of
Right,
this
'cause we do have
calendar
more
year.
Payroll coming up.
Right.
Mhm.
So then,
So that's what's minus all the expenses, the times, everything. There's about 190 in that account.
Right now,
Right
as
now.
it stands right
Yeah.
now.
so on this page, then we're carrying forward projections with, for now, just assuming that the hotel program ends in April. Now, I understand that's not a safe assumption, but for purposes of getting our arms around where this stands, that's what we're doing. Okay, so what you got there is income and down below our guesstimate of expenses for continuing the directed patrols and also the remaining outfitting of that vehicle.
Right.
Okay, so all of that is coming out, which leaves you with remaining balance potentially projected available to be used in the 25 fiscal year budget of almost $221,000. Did I miss
That'll be
anything
like the
there?
end of April.
Okay.
That's
Sorry.
about, if things stay the way they are, what you're getting in, that's what'll be there at the end of April.
No, it's more like
End of June,
the end of June.
right?
Well,
What
but-
this
But your
isn't-
income
But
only,
your
your
income-
income only shows till April.
Right,
Correct.
because we're just saying that what if it stopped?
This is
Right.
worst case scenario. We figure though, even if everything stops in April, if the money coming in stops, we still will probably have directed patrols down there while people get, even if the whole program thing, people are going
They're
to
not
be
gonna disappear
dispersing.
overnight.
Well, exactly. So we projected the expenses through June 30th,
Right.
but the income only through April.
So April,
Yeah.
okay.
We took, for projecting the expenses, we just looked at, what it was year to date and we doubled it for the year.
And again, I think you guys know that this isn't including any actual, like, a number for what I was trying to grasp. Could we look at a trend of how many hours and what we're paying our officers per month to see if we could plug something in here to see if there was like an average? And it just is a variable that is so all over the place right now that that's not included in here. Just know that. So
Yeah.
basically, the way you said it, I agree. There's 220, almost 221,000 left, or not left, but to be used for direct patrol.
So, this is obviously not written in stone, but the idea here is to give us some projection of how much we will have available to use going forward. So now we have to decide how we're going to use it. And so coming back to the budget, what we've got in here that are sort of direct consequences of this situation are, we are hiring an additional officer. So there's the salary line is easily identifiable. There are other, I think Kari or the department head figured there was roughly another $40,000 or so that's now sprinkled throughout various lines of cost, hiring an additional officer. And then there's the outside detail. And the issue there that we ended our meeting in the midst of discussion about how to handle that and what to expect. On the one hand, as we just said, even if the hotel program ends, there's still going to be, we expect a lot of activity in the south end town. There was even to some extent before this started. But we're also hiring we're hiring an additional officer. So, I think part of the question we have to decide is, do we need both in this budget? And one way I think there's kind of two ways to think about this. One is, we're probably going to continue if we think we're going to continue doing an outside detail regardless, which means basically additional overtime for officers. Then we could put it in here and decide how much of this money we're using versus how much we're going to raise by taxes. The other approach might be that if we are doing, if the hotel program continues beyond April, then we will be doing the outside detail but we will also continue to have money. We'll have monthly payments coming in to cover that, which is not reflected in this right now. So, you know, I guess it's a question of our expectations and what we plan to do as far as that detail as to whether we show it here as an expense. I mean, you could show it and you could budget money out of the hotel funds to cover it. And then if we don't do it, then it's not spent. It remains in the hotel fund and we pass a resolution to carry that money over. Or we could conclude that there's going to be additional money to cover it that's going to offset and it doesn't affect the budget and doesn't need to be in here at all. I guess I could go either way on that. But I just, you know, there are a lot of increases in here, so I'm just sensitive to how much we're going to ask voters to pay for by taxes.
I think
On
we
the
have
other
to,
hand, we also have to think about smoothing out the expense, right? Because, you know, we anticipate keeping this officer if we can find one, you know, and if they want to stay here and they're good, we want to keep them. So eventually that cost, you know, is going to fall on taxpayers. So unless we happen to have a vacancy savings at the same time that the hotel money runs out, but
So in the current fiscal year we're in,
that's another issue.
the officers are being paid for their direct patrol out of the Cortina monies without running that through the police budget. Because it doesn't show up in this current budget. There's no line for that. So when Kari pays them, you deduct that direct patrol comes out of the Cortina monies.
Yes, that's
It
what
will-
this spreadsheet is.
So
At the end of the year, when we report it, it's going to show that
we can't just show that, we can't see like, I'm just kind of thinking like the fire department Sutton fund is not taxpayer dollars and it has nothing to do with the fire department budget, their income and expenses. And I almost think we should treat the Cortina money the same way so that number one, it's very clear. We're taking in 22,000 a month. This is what we're spending. The hard part of that, and I understand this, is the incidental costs, what it costs for Lynette, what it costs for the cruisers. But the cruiser time would be easier because if you go work 4 hours and you do, there's a rate for that. And you could easily deduct that to cover the cruiser, the gas and the time. And the reason I like that better is because that's the way we're doing it now. And we don't infuse any money into the budget. Number one, that doesn't tie our police department's hands on how much they can spend. They have the entire balance. They can work as little or as much as they can. What we could do, and this would be, I would be okay with putting a sum into the budget that starts next July out of that fund that covers the entire cost of hiring the 5th officer.
well, that's kind of what we're asking.
You know, that's what I would do, but I would keep the payments to the officers and for the cars. Have that come out of don't run that through the budget.
So a little bit of clarification, I think, is necessary on part of what we talked about. And Andrew's not here to address this, but I think in the current fiscal year, what is going to happen is you're going to see income from the payments that came in during this year. And then they'll, you know, we're going to have to figure out in next year's, at the report at the end, whether there's also a subtraction.
We're going to
at the
jockey
bottom
that
from the
income line
prior
from
year.
just the RSO at the end when you do the year-end balance in June and say, okay, we infuse this much actual dollars into the budget for the directed patrols and then show where it comes out. Is that what you're thinking? So if we do that for 1 year, let's just do that. That way it doesn't tie anybody. So I just don't want to tie them to a specific dollar figure that they may need to spend more of, or if they spend only a portion of it, they lose it. And I don't want to see the
Well,
the police lose it.
Here's the flip side.
Yeah.
The voters know very well we've been getting money in for the Cortina fund.
Right.
And we need to show somewhere that we're using it.
Right.
And as we're proposing this budget, if we propose this budget as it is, there's a 27% increase in the police budget, and we've got nothing allocated from
But you
Cortina.
understand what I'm concerned about?
Uh,
we can't, it's hard to fix a number, the hiring an
We
officer.
have
we
tried
could-
our best
I
to
know,
fix the
it's-
number,
it-
and that's really kind of what, now we're tossing it to you saying, I think we need to show some use of the Cortina funds. What's a reasonable use so we don't have money left over? So we're not tying up and we're not
We don't want to come up short
right.
either,
Well,
so.
and to Joe's earlier point, there's another issue we haven't addressed here, which is that if we manage to find an officer during this current fiscal year,
Right.
that would have to be paid for out of these funds, which is going to reduce the available
Right.
balance for the 25 fiscal year.
Right.
So,
I mean, I would anticipate if as a board, we agreed to allow the police to hire an officer ASAP and allow them $95,000 in salary and expenses. I don't know if that's enough. Would that hire an officer, pay all the necessary add-ons?
From this point in the year forward.
Yes.
Yes.
More
Yeah.
than, more than.
Okay. I mean, that's
But
just a
that's-
number that's just a number I'm pulling out of it, because I don't know when you're gonna find somebody. It might take you from now till June to find somebody, and this is a moot issue. I just want those funds protected for what they were for.
Mhm.
So the crystal ball mine is a little foggy, and to figure
I
out
think
just,
all of ours is.
Yeah,
a
you
little
know,
foggy.
so
We're
that's
doing
why
our
I was
best.
thinking that if the current policy is that we are going to show in June an infusion into the budget, the police budget for directed patrols and necessary expenses. And to the best of everybody's ability, the hours are easy. You can do that. That's because they do a timesheet. So
That's what
the-
this is.
yeah, that's the easy part. The car time and the people
Not sure it
time
was
is easy. The administrative time and the others a little harder to show in there. What's hard is
That's what-
is when you're trying to, do that amount to be raised by taxes. So you deduct, you know what I'm saying, Kari?
When we
Wasn't
get
that
to that
Wasn't
point,
that
That's-
13%?
yes,
And
that's
then
what
the
that
next
is.
page was the
Yeah.
16%?
yes.
Yeah. I mean,
So that's,
I don't know
So
what the
here's-
best,
Let me just toss a number out.
okay.
So I'm looking, and this might be where Matt and I disagreed. I'm looking at less hotel fund. And that line, I would put $100,000 in for this year. So we take 100,000 out. We know we're going to have,
I was gonna say 140.
okay, well, 100, so we know we're going to have 221,000. Maybe a little less if we find an officer, maybe a little more if the housing program continues.
Right.
So 100,000 will go toward covering the extra officer and some of the time. We don't have to say it will be used for this. It's just showing the townspeople that we're not going to raise your taxes because we're going to use some of that money we got from Cortina.
And that income that we put in will cover the salary and the directed patrols? Is that the anticipated plan? Or
It's
it's just income to your budget?
it's income to the budget.
So the way I looked at it is, if I'm reading these charts right, we've spent 38,000 pretty much fiscal year to date. And we're projecting 42,000 in extra expenditures. So there's $80,000. That's gonna cost us $58,000 to hire another officer. That puts us at $138,000, round up to 140. There you are.
We were kind of talking the total cost for 1 year of, yeah, no, exactly.
It
We
won't
were,
cover that, and then we're gonna have more. If we have another officer, we're gonna have. Well, if you have that worked into the budget already, it'll cover that.
We
but-
do.
we had talked for the past month or so that the total
That's our-
package for an officer
Was
is
it?
about 138,000 because of all of the stuff,
Mhm.
the vehicle costs and all of that. So
But
you're in the
you've already
ballpark.
Figured that into there with the raise in the insurance
Mhm.
and some of the other costs.
Plus, you have another officer, you're gonna have more overtime for directed patrols on the south end.
Yeah,
Possibly.
Well,
Possibly.
they,
I hope
well,
so.
the overtime out of the budget, though, is just the,
but
that's just your
Overtime.
overtime during your 40-hour shift.
Yeah, but the
And-
directed patrols are on overtime.
Overtime, but
rates.
they're on the other end too.
So we're gonna have more of that, which means we have to pull more from the Cortina fund in
You
order to
might, you
supply
might want
that.
to put 150 in there.
All right. So we've
So-
got 100, we've got 140,
All right,
we've
go
got
ahead.
150.
I think
Going
Do I have
once.
The number,
Well, the point
Number.
is, it's the money's there. We're showing good faith that we're going to offset the cost of an officer. Now, do we have, so let's say we find an officer in February and Ed wants to hire him. Can we take that person and pay for them for the rest of the current fiscal year out of the funds that are there?
Yeah.
Oh, the
Will there be
Cortina
enough to do
funds?
it?
Yeah.
thanks. So, I think we have to sort of decide philosophically, as to which things we're going to pay for. Like you could say, you know, the officer roughly 100,000 and keep the outside detail, and you end up, you know, like 155,000 if you pay for both of those things out of this. In which case, if you had 221 left, projected, you'd have $66,000 that you could use in this current fiscal year to pay for that hire.
Right.
You definitely, whatever we decided to use in 25, we need to leave some margin for that in case that hire happens this year. And then you're talking, if the program is done in April and we don't have additional revenue, then, you know, that will have been expended by June 30, 2025. And then, you know, so going forward, then
It'll be on the town.
it would be on whatever,
Yeah, but we
whatever it is, you know, we'll have to decide, are we doing directed patrol?
If the
or not?
director,
And-
that may, once, if the Cortina leaves and the folks that are there are relocated out of our area, and this is a big thing. Prior to this situation, I don't think directed patrols down there were even necessary. You had some shoplifting, you had some problems, but no more than normal retail, I think, averages. Do you, Ed?
A couple things changed. They changed the Vermont Constitution, so the highest bail we get is what, $200 now?
Yeah.
So in a misdemeanor retail theft now is almost $1,000, where it used to be 100. So it took a while for the public to learn. Oh, I can steal indiscriminately and there's no punishment. Oh, this is a bonus and another invitation to go to court. No problem.
So, but I think your point was that you made to Matt and I,
Yes.
that even if the Cortina shuts down the program, there's still maybe programs remaining in the city, so the south end pressure
Oh, yeah.
might very well be there
Yeah.
still.
Right.
And it's,
I know we have the quality and
yeah, we can make this money go as far as we can, but, so if we put 150 in the budget that starts next July 1st, should have the funds there based on your numbers. Best as you guys can project them.
So is that a motion to put 150 in?
Yeah, I'll make that a motion that we put it from the hotel fund.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sharon is seconding, so discussion, 150,000 from the hotel funds.
I think
I
we have
think
talked this
Mary-
right into it.
Yeah, Sharon?
Mary, I think you made the point that we have the Cortina Fund. We want to show the people that we're using that fund for this because it does make a difference. I can tell you that they are giving some people 90-day limit and then kicking them to the curb, so to speak. And, you know, as you know, I'm retired from the mission, but I do 2 days a week there. There's only so many beds and cots that we can put up. So, you know, just because the state closes everything down doesn't mean the homeless go away.
Yeah.
I think we've done our best to figure out how to do this. The money is there. That's what it's for.
Yep.
I would just, I guess, question to the chief, and this, you know, could be something we discussed too going forward, but I'm curious, assuming we can hire another officer, how do you envision managing shifts? How will that impact the department's operations?
I'd like to see an overlap of shifts, at least two guys on at the same time, because
So the same shifts that we are currently operating, not an expansion in time, but just more people during those shifts.
It'd be an overlap because a lot of times Officer Placus works by himself. PSP is nice to help out, but it's always nice to have two people on at this, maybe not the whole time as the volume of calls drops off in the later evening hours. Okay, you can go come back to one officer. Maybe we'll have somebody on call, so they have something, we can call them in.
So as a consequence, because we wouldn't necessarily be expanding the number of shifts, there would still be that need to do the directed patrol, because it's not as though we could say, okay, well, this officer will add a shift here and have them go down there and cover that.
Correct.
Hopefully a new officer will allow you to do some of the normal police activities in town that you currently don't have people for.
Mhm.
I think that's kind of where you hope the designated time for the south end probably will be what it is, but there will be, with an additional person, you may be able to do some of the stuff you'd like to do.
It'd be nice if, with an additional person, I can have somebody that can do directed patrol during the regular shift, just hang out in the south end and just patrol around.
Right.
Then have the second officer can go
Do
do the
what
rest of it.
the normal police work,
Exactly.
like,
Okay, the motion on the floor is to, for the purposes of the proposed budget for 2024, is to use $150,000 from the hotel fund. You ready for the vote?
Mhm.
All in favor, please say aye.
I,
Aye.
Sharon? And it's
Aye.
an aye, it's unanimous.
So if this, payment schedule continues as things go on, like next year, I would like to see, instead of 150, maybe 130 or 125. And then that way the tax burden starts getting shifted around to where that officer is going to be paid for by taxes in progression.
So
Yes, but in our contract, there's also a bump up increase.
Yeah.
So, but you're right about
We just want,
easing into the
because if all of a
taxpayers.
sudden this
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
away, we don't want that big step to show up on our.
yeah.
oh, I have a question here for Kari on how this is presented.
Sure.
On the budget sheet at the bottom.
Oh, that's a bill question.
Oh. Okay, so we have the total budgeted expenses at 759,619.
Mhm.
Okay, and then right now there's blank space that we just filled in. And then, but right now there's another line, net general budget. This number is lower than that number, but there's nothing in between. Are we missing?
It takes out,
the
ED
revenue.
reimbursement from the top.
All right, so,
Yep.
so as a point of interest, then, if you take that net general budget of 721, you subtract the 150, you got 571. So an increase of 525 to 571, which is much more palatable.
Yeah,
for-
yeah, okay.
yeah, we're gonna go to after you take that, we're looking at a 609 budget.
Sorry,
What's this
We'll be
thing?
looking at about a 609,000 to be raised by taxes. From the 759, or is that one net?
well, no,
Go to
because of the
721.
Well, the 721 because of 38 was
take
taken,
out the
right?
38,
Because of
right?
the incomes, yeah.
Okay, I used the wrong number. Excuse me.
So
So we
what's
should, I think,
571?
have, for
721.
presentation purposes, then maybe we want to have
035
that, the sort of net
Minus
percent change on there
150.
to show people
That equals, so
in
we'll
terms
be
of
at
the
a
amount raised by
570.
taxes, how that's being increased.
I'll work on this point tomorrow or Thursday. I can send you some examples and see if you.
But substantively, we've got it.
Yes.
We'd be looking
So,
at
I mean, to make it
571.
even really, really, really clear is after total budget expenses, then less hotel fund 150, then less anticipated income, which is the 38,584. That's straight from the top line.
That's fine.
And then you come up with the net.
And
that
that's
would be
usually the
easier
amount
to
to be raised by taxes.
Right.
And it'll be
Yeah.
about 571,000,
Yep.
which is
That's what I got.
about 50 more than last year, and given just a health insurance increase.
Yeah.
Which is about 3/4 of that.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty good.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the police budget as presented.
So moved.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Right.
That's a second. Any further discussion of the police budget? If not, all those in favor of approving it to present to the voters, please say aye.
All right.
Aye. Sharon?
Aye.
Okay,
Very good.
unanimous. Thank you
Yep.
all very
A lot
much.
of hard
Thank you,
work
Matt.
and
That
good
wasn't so
outcome.
bad.
And Kari and Ed and Andrew.
Should we make a motion that Ed hires another police officer?
Entirely possible. We've got the money. We've done the numbers now. So the money's in the Cortina fund.
So I'll move that we allow our police chief to hire another additional police officer
I'll second that.
Full-time.
full time.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to add a full-time police officer to begin the process of finding one. So all in, any discussion, I suppose I should ask, in this
be
fiscal year.
I think our anticipated is that we will use these Cortina funds to pay that.
Correct.
If you hire that person between now and July 1st,
Mhm.
they will be paid out of the funds that are available, and then the new budget will kick in with the
Okay,
revisions.
okay. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
Bye.
Sharon, okay, so it's unanimous.
Yep.
Good.
Get the ball
Not a
rolling.
bad night for you.
What's that?
Not a bad night for you.
No. Been a long time
Here,
coming.
take the money. Well, except for me making you trudge around
Hey.
29 acres of land
He-
looking for an encampment.
You
That's
remember?
wonderful.
You remember how we treated Dave when he got the generator?
Yeah.
We don't want to hear anything more from you.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Is there any other police business?
Other than my normal stuff.
Uh,
I can leave and you can
And,
go.
and I
Oh,
think
yeah, it's
are we
probably-
finished
Kari.
with Carrie? I think we are.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you
So
very
on a-
much.
On a higher note, on December 13th, of this year, officers from, Rutland Town Police Department participated in the Shop with a Cop event, which took place at Walmart,
Oh, good.
along with the city. The event sponsored 70 kids. 10 of those children were specifically from the Rutland Town residents. They're also attended by deputies from the Rutland County Sheriff's Department, uniformed troopers of the Vermont State Police, and members of the Vermont National Guard and Rutland City Police were there. Like the special thanks to Officer Shermorn for her hard work and dedication to supporting the event. Officer Shermorn coordinated with Rutland City Police officers, contacted local businesses, obtained donations from local businesses in the amount of $3,800 to help buy the gifts for kids. And the businesses were Rutland South Brewery Club, Karis Reels,
Yes.
Hoffman Incorporated, McDonald's, Key Honda and Rutland, Green Mountain Power, Vermont Electric Company, Velco, Holly's Electric, Air Career Services, MMA Guns, and John Minery. So there was something in the paper, but I kind of forgot to mention
Yeah.
the
Thanks.
rest of the people that.
Matt and I are in Rutland South Rotary. So we
So
were,
thank you very much.
well, you're very welcome. We were really glad that Angie was able to help
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Everybody has their specialties and.
Yeah.
The other thing, calls for service last time around, we had 55 calls. We had 20 traffic stops.
Okay. Any questions for our chief of police other than, do you want any more money for anything?
Good. I will be getting the radio, and I ordered the computer, the stands, all the stuff from that. It was like $4,900, and the radio's on, waiting for that too, another 5,000, which was all from out of Cortina fund and the 75.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Very
Thank
good.
you very much.
Great. Thanks very much.
You cover everything there from the police budget that you wanted to.
I do believe,
I was trying to look through and see if there was anything here that we didn't. I think you got it.
we took care of the signs because that
The
was the
signs, we
thing
took
at the
care of
end. Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Matt, for walking us through that. Okay, next is Mike Delehanty, first constable.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So not too much, but sticking with the Cortina talk. In the last couple of weeks, really last month, there's been an incredible increase in animal complaints down there. I feel like every few days I'm going down there to investigate a complaint of a dog or cat being abused or malnourished. Now, most of them have been unfounded or haven't risen to the level of any further real action. But if you take a ride down there, even on the grounds and even inside, it's not only turning from a homeless shelter, it's almost like an animal shelter down there. There's definitely a large increase in pets down there. Hopefully it doesn't turn into something. Just want to make you aware of it. I'll keep a close eye on it, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of animals down there right now.
Like, is that affecting the conditions? I mean, in terms of cleanliness and so forth?
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, I don't think they were great to begin with. But when you go into some of those rooms, I don't know if it makes any difference whether there was a dog or a cat in there. They're tough conditions to begin with. But I'll definitely keep a close eye on it, and I'll let you know.
Okay. Any questions for our first constable? Okay. Thank you, Mike, very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Ed Dumas, Town Police Chief, we have covered. John Paul Faignant, Town Health Officer, Public Safety Building Clerk, and Second Constable. And
Hi, good
we
evening,
have
folks.
Good evening.
So, things are going well at the station. You can start to see the structure being put up. Those are moving along. Joe did an excellent job. I'll let him present to you his conversations with the contractors over the price increases. I think he negotiated an excellent deal on those overruns. So that continues to move along as expected. I sent you all a letter concerning the health officer position, and I would just plant a seed in your bonnet to consider whether or not the board wants to adopt a health policy. As the memo dictates, they no longer allow the health officer to vacate a room because of conditions. But that exclusion, as I read the statute, does not preclude the Board of Health, which is you folks, from having your own health code and enforcing that and directing me to enforce that. But I don't know how far you want to, if you even want to go down that path. I know some towns have taken a look at the life safety code and they've adopted it themselves, which gives them what they need to do what they want to do with the health code. But again, I put that out there for your thought, and maybe we can discuss it as we go forward. As to the constable work, I'm busy. I can't sit too long before one of our overachieving citizens passes me by at an excessive rate of speed. So that I think is going to continue for the foreseeable future. That's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Matt does.
Just a follow-up comment on the health safety issue. I read that memo from the state the same way. Comment to JP about it. I'm not familiar with life safety code or anything, but it seemed to me like it was an invitation to us to do something. And we've had a problem with empowering JP in the past, and to follow up on Mike's comments, we have an agreement with Cortina that does allow provide for regular inspections, including into rooms by JP. But if he doesn't have the power to do anything, then it doesn't do us any good. But it sounds like the state's giving us an invitation to empower ourselves and thereby empower JP. So I think that probably is something we need to look at in the new year.
Okay.
Probably be a good idea if somebody else has already done this to see what their language looks like. JP, do you have any list of towns or municipalities that have adopted the life safety codes that we could maybe take a look at their what they've adopted?
I haven't taken that liberty. I'll be glad to look into that and provide you with, for example, what Winooski or Burlington might do in that regard, and why reinvent the wheel if you're going to look at it. I'll be happy to pull that stuff together for you in the coming year.
I think that's a good
Yeah, we'll
plan.
take a look. And I look at a couple of smaller municipalities if they have, like Brandon or maybe Castleton or,
Yeah, some, that's excellent. I mean, some municipality with a similar population as us would be great.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so while you're on with us, it's probably change order time. If you look at the bottom of your agenda under action items, we do list A, board to review public safety building change orders for approval. Now, Kari handed to me something that was just delivered to Bill, and it appears to be the AIA document for change orders, and I'm trying to reconcile it with what we have, and I wish they hadn't done that.
Assuming they'd like to be paid, but
They would like to be paid, but this is the change order thing too, so.
does it give you a, bottom number figure that?
Well, the contract sum will be increased by this change order in the amount of $182,388.
It matches what Bill provided us in our packets, which I assume
Okay.
was the follow-up to Joe's.
Yes, which I think is right. I
Yeah.
do believe that
Yeah.
was a number.
Joe
that,
got $10,000 taken off.
Yes, he did.
8 to 10.
$10,005.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically the day that I met with Ed Clark and Sean Paquette from VMS was that the only additional, I guess, delay time we're paying for is the time it took to get the unsuitable soil out. And then I did mention about the winter conditions for the steel erection. That's their company policy. There were probably 4 to 5 weeks maybe of delay time, some on us, some on whatever on them. And so the original steel, I think, was supposed to be delivered about mid-November. And we would have missed out on those winter terms, but the steel company, this is their winter maintenance. I actually, yesterday was at 60 degrees, but I don't see much fun in putting steel up in a pouring driving rain.
No.
But they put up a good lot of steel yesterday in the rain. They're back out there at it today again. So I think everything is on the up and up, and I think we're okay. From my discussion with them, and I do believe that's the number. I didn't bring in the original numbers that I had the day I met with them, but that does sound accurate.
Okay.
So I think we're okay.
Now, this does not include any adjustment for not building the retaining wall. That is change order number 4, which is not part of this
Right,
packet.
that, I think that
The
will
reason
show up.
for that is, oh, I'm sorry, Joe. As I remember it, they are uncomfortable committing to that until they see how that whole bank, how it compacts and how it passes compaction tests. They did talk about maybe just being able to install a guardrail to address any concerns and not the actual wall.
I think it was 28, the wall was like 28,000, and I'm not sure if that included a guardrail, but they're talking about the guardrail. So I think you said it showed an allocation of 18 or a reduction possible.
Oh,
Was it
change
18?
order number.
Thought somewhere that I heard that number earlier, but it doesn't matter, at this point. I think it was 28, and then they're anticipating a guardrail amount of about 10. So there would be a savings of about 18 from the.
Oh,
original.
okay, that's
That's-
if we went in that direction, but there's none of that.
None of
this
that is in,
particular-
and that
okay.
would be only reflected into the, and I guess the end number.
Okay, so the way this is set up, if we agree to the change order total of 182,388, this is set up to be signed by the architects signed it, Ed has signed it, Vic Shappy has signed it, and Town of Rutland owner, and then JP Faignant approving it. So if you want to make a motion, if you want to do it that way, that's fine. But if you do a motion, you should include the fact that JP is signing on behalf of the town for this.
Is JP available to do that?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Well, if he isn't.
I am. And I'm not, I would never, that's why it's not signed yet, because I would never sign it
Right.
until the board authorized me to.
Right, right.
So I move that we accept the change orders as presented, and we authorize, well, we have authorized JP to sign on us by making him clerk of the works, I believe, but.
Well, I think for this, we better do it
But I'll
individually. Yeah.
authorize, and we authorize, the motion would include authorizing JP to sign on behalf of the town.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's made and
Second.
seconded to approve the change order 182,388.
Sharon, I have a question.
Sharon, do you have a question?
Nope. No. No, I just seconded it, but somebody else did it at the same time.
Well, let's say
Well, it
all
doesn't-
in favor, please say aye.
I
Right.
Aye. It's unanimous. So, Bill, I'm going to put this in the green folder so JP can sign it when he's in.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll be in the morning.
Very good.
I'll be in the morning to do that.
Okay, thanks. All right,
think
so that
that's all
takes
I have.
care of. All right, thank
Thanks,
you.
JP.
Thank you.
All right, Barbara Noyes Pulling, Town Planning Commission.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
The Town Planning Commission has not met since your last meeting. But if you want me to put on my Regional Planning Commission hat and answer what questions I can of the Housing Resource Navigator Program, I'd be glad
Yes,
to do that.
please. This is action item C, and in your packet, there is a one-pager explaining that we have an opportunity to sign up for this program. It is free to the towns. And what will it do for us, Barbara?
It will, there's a new staff member at the Regional Planning Commission, and he can help the town identify sites. He can come up with methods to score those sites, and he can help with finding interested developers and giving them the resources they need to proceed with construction if it gets that far. Right now, he sent a survey to us that he would prefer that both the Select Board and Planning Commission fill out. It does include identifying sites if we wanted to go that route. He's also going to have a survey sent out to the public, to townspeople, and later on one to developers. So one thing that occurred to me is perhaps we want to see what our townspeople say first before we fill out the survey. That's one option. We've got, I think he said, he's funded through 2024. So we've got all of next year to use his services.
I'll go quick.
Yeah?
I would take whatever Barbara recommends on this subject.
Do you know when the townspeople survey is going out, and will that information be shared by town with us?
Yes, it will be shared. I'm not quite sure when it will be sent out. We can, I know, I'm just thinking the Town Planning Commission would probably be interested in that input and would probably feel a little uncomfortable just going ahead and identifying sites that aren't town-owned, if there are some that are town-owned to include. So,
We do have. They're not very big, but
Yeah, not much you can do anything with.
so what's your pleasure? Do we ask the planning commission to look into this a little more and make a recommendation to us about whether we sign up for this community navigator program now or wait until after townspeople have been surveyed?
I'd probably wait until after townspeople get surveyed. Then we can kind of understand whether people want this type of housing in our town or not.
yeah, and the type of housing, it runs the gamut from,
Yeah, it
does
isn't
include
specific.
Yeah.
Okay. So is that the pleasure of the board? Wait and see what the townspeople survey results in?
I think so.
Sharon, yes?
Yeah, I think so, Mary. I think,
Okay.
rightly so, and I think Barbara feels that she felt better that way. So, like Matt said, I have to agree with what Barbara goes with.
Okay, so let's,
What drives me nuts is we had a developer that really wanted to go put some really nice housing on the south end of town, and you know, the state made so many headaches and hooplas.
no.
What
Very
sunk the
different story.
Okay.
The, and we can discuss it, but it wasn't the state so much as the available land and the reduction in land and a request for a reduction in price.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go
There's-
blaming that on the state. In fact, the town was pretty receptive. We had the developer come in and explain,
That was going
What
where
the
the
plan
problem
was-
right?
Yeah.
Were they buying the whole 182 acres?
they were
Yeah.
buying the whole thing.
And I don't know why that fell through, but that's,
Yeah, there was quite a few issues to that.
something went south on it, but
Yeah, let's not speculate too much on that. That's now under active consideration again. I understand. And I have a little more on that I can,
That was gonna be a really nice facility.
it was gonna be super.
the only thing I didn't, that was kind of tailored to younger professionals, which doesn't address as much of the problem with affordable housing.
No,
which is-
there's a huge issue with younger professionals.
We have a
So,
need
and
for
if
all-
we have a
my
place
age
for
trying to
them,
find good
that
housing.
frees up the other housing
Well,
stuff.
maybe that's, it might be a trickle down effect. if
We
you
have a
someplace-
need for all types, and I think our town needs to be open to housing development, because
Mhm.
if that's where we have room to do, I mean, I'd love to see stuff downtown as well, but we need to be looking at everything to meet our needs, so.
Or whoever runs the house. Rutland House Authority doesn't run it.
Yeah, they do.
Rich House, I
They made a believer out of you, didn't they, Ed?
I complain
Yeah.
a lot about it, but
Yeah.
But that's what's needed.
This is more like, well, I'm not exactly sure. This is a survey to see what's out there, what's available.
Yeah.
And then what developer comes along, who knows whether it's combination of lower, moderate or high end. We just don't know what's out there. Anyway, for the time being, we'll ask Barbara and the Planning Commission to monitor this. And when the survey comes through about what the townspeople want, we'll then pick up this community navigator, housing resource navigator program again and see if we want to participate at that point. Okay? All right. Thank you. What else have you got, Barbara?
I don't have much. I don't have anything else.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Barbara? All right. Thank you, Barbara.
Okay.
Merry
Happy
Christmas,
holidays.
Barbara.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Merry
You
Christmas.
too. Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
I don't have much, just, the rink is up at school. And with a little bit of rain we got, that's not a bad thing. I know that the fire department tried last week when we had a concert, so I do thank the chief for trying, and hopefully there's no more concerts. So if they can get over there and add a little water to it, breeze, and have some outdoor public skating, and that would be fantastic. Basketball starts, as far as games start, after the vacation for rec. It was nice to see Mary and Matt there. Matt was there selfishly, but Mary was there cheering on our middle schoolers the other day, so that was really cool.
It was great fun. If people want to get out and really do something,
It's
go
fun.
to a basketball game at Rutland Town. It's really kind of fun.
Want to kill a couple hours and watch two different games? It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Then you can go out to eat afterwards.
And we did too.
And perfect. So there you go. Game and dinner. Other than that, I had the pleasure of quickly jumping in on the seniors luncheon that was at school this last week, where the band played there in the cafeteria. They had a very good turnout. I think they said close to 40
Good.
were there. So that was great. They've been doing that for a couple of years. So kudos to everybody that was involved in that. That was huge. And that the seniors came out, had a nice meal, got to listen to the good music. Other than that, I don't have much. It's winter and we have indoor activities, and Bill has put the schedule up on. So if you want to look at a game, and it's online, and come out and support the kids, and hopefully we'll have some skating. If the weather turns and stays cold enough. So we'll be ready for it if that's the case.
Okay.
Don't really have anything else unless you guys have something for me.
Questions for our rec director?
Well, I wish you all happy holidays.
Thank
and
you.
we meet again in the new year. January 2nd. Fantastic.
Okay.
All right. Have a
Thank
great
you.
holiday, everybody.
You too, Mike. Thank you.
Merry Christmas, Mike.
Yes, you too, Sharon. Hope you're feeling better.
Getting there.
Okay. Dave Sears.
Dave
No,
is
Dave.
not on. He had appointment that he had to take his wife to, so he told me he wouldn't be here. So if you want, we'll go over what him and I and Kurt discussed on Friday.
Okay.
So the agenda kind of expanded, but anyway, we received a correspondence from Clarendon, and they were offering up a thought on trading services for plowing, and their proposal was that the town would plow Creek Road from Billings to Sugar House to the Alphresia Road. In return, they would
Which town?
Clarendon,
Okay.
because they have to plow it. That's
They
where the
do?
town line is at the Sugar House.
Yeah.
So they wanted us to plow that part of the paved road, and they would take over quarter line. So Dave did some calculate and then some figuring, and because quarter line is plowed, Creek Road is plowed by a contractor.
Mhm.
I think Tyler does that. The additional miles alone would run the town approximately somewhere between 25 and 3,000, depending on the winter, and additional cost per mile to have it plowed. And the fact that we use salt, which is way more expensive than sand, he recommended that we decline the offer. And he has a plan pretty much in place now where the 550 goes up there and does the plowing right off. So the road gets plowed pretty quickly when the truck's on this end of town, and then they go back and sand it as necessary. So he said we should probably opt out of that. The other thing
And you folks recommend that we not accept this offer?
right.
Okay.
And I guess, would it be appropriate that the board through Bill, I guess we just respond to him in that fashion? I think that would just give them
Why don't we just do a quick motion declining their offer?
then I'll move that we decline the offer.
Okay. Motion's made and seconded to decline the offer of Clarendon to swap
Question.
roads. Yes, Matt.
So just to be clear, this offer only involved plowing. It didn't have to do with grading.
No, this is just winter maintenance. I guess everybody turns around at Billings' Sugar House, and whether that creates a problem, I know there's a yard there. So Clarendon plows to that point, they turn around and go back the other way. Tyler plows to that point and turns around. I don't know what they do with the snow that's at the plow. I'm assuming they push it off. So it's the same thing, like the city plows Grove Street to the bridge, and then they get off the road, and then we plow the other side. But anyway, yeah, that's what they want to do. This is just winter maintenance. It was just an idea. And
Any further discussion?
Maybe in our email back, we should reflect some of the reasoning as to why we
Yeah.
can't do that, because we have a contractor and it's gonna be excessive cost of the town to pay
Okay.
the contractor extra.
Is there a counter offer that makes any sense? Do you feel like we've got this figured out with our equipment and what we're gonna do?
I still personally feel that the best solution for winter maintenance was that they would plow that short portion of quarter line road and we'd pay them to do it.
Yeah.
And they just didn't want to do it because they drive that to turn around, because they cannot turn that tandem around on there. They have to go to the paved portion, find a place to turn around and come back. So anyway.
I think we could reflect that Dave, as before with other town roads, will do his best to get there.
Right.
And
We are actually taking care of the class 4 road, in my opinion, in excess of our class 4 road maintenance
Yeah,
policy.
and I don't want to go down that road.
So we're good. So we have-
Okay,
We can
so
just,
the motion is to deny the request from the proposal from the town of Clarendon to swap the
right, and we can,
to-
like Kurt said, we can just cite the additional cost to the town. It's
Addition-
not cost effective.
okay. All in favor of denying, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay.
Then we,
Next.
so the Dave relayed to us that his crew would like to have a highway department Facebook page, so they could put
Oh.
stuff out there to where they're working, what they're doing. They would also post paving schedule, so when they're on certain roads, people would know. They would put where, if there's culvert work, kind of a day-to-day thing. I think the three young fellas are all interested in, I guess they take a lot of pictures when they're working, because
Okay.
everybody has a phone, so they said that's fine, so we went along with that.
I think that's a great idea. Is that something that's difficult to do?
It is already up.
Excellent. All righty, takes
So
care of
I
that.
figured that, I do believe that my son-in-law has something to do with this.
Ah.
Yes, Chris and Ben are taking the lead on that one, so
Okay.
they've already got it going.
Yep, so they're good with that. We did receive a packet of information documents from the Carmel Place and the Homeowners Association, and Dave took those. We went through the documents that they provided, kind of matched those to what the ordinance says. Some stuff is there. We couldn't find as-bills. Dave is going to research that a little bit more. We may try to get a hold of the contractor that did it. We believe Markowski's did that development, which is a pretty highly reputable company, so we're pretty sure it's okay. But the fact that we are looking to take over a road with utilities in the road.
Oh.
This is a new thing, and one of the things that came up was O&M on the water and sewer. The town would now be collecting that and does that go, so there's some questions about the water and sewer and how that affects what we're doing there, because they had an allocation that they did not use because they went crosslots down to Sonia.
Okay.
So there will be some additional questions as to how this is, but that's something that this is uncharted ground.
Yeah.
And then, so we're working on that to move forward. We are not taking it over in the middle of winter plowing.
Nope.
So, then there was a conversation about the difference in highway numbers. There is a lister list and there is a state list. And for the purpose of the ordinance that the town has, and reflects when we post speed limits, it's the recommendation of the board or our committee that we go with the state's numbers. Mostly because our state aid is based on those numbers and
Yeah.
that mileage, so.
Yeah.
I don't know if we need to make a motion to, go with those numbers or if we just do our automatically.
So this,
I think we're good, because
I think we're
those
good
are
on
the
that.
numbers we're using currently.
Yeah,
right?
those are the numbers we're using, but
And that's how we report our state aid.
yeah,
Yes.
let's do those numbers.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with that.
Okay. And then the last thing we discussed.
I'm sorry,
was-
Matt, did you have a question on
I
that?
just was trying to clarify again what the two lists and what we were saying we're using for what purpose.
Yeah.
So one is used in the highway book and the other is used by the lister's office. Listers are not the same. One used in the road book corresponds to the state. Okay. So basically what you're saying is the listers will do their own thing. We're not going to mess with it. Everything else will match the state.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's the stuff that pertains, if it is the decision at some point to use just one system, it would be that recommendation, we go with the state system, but at this time, there's no need to change what the listers are doing. We need to just go with the state's doing, because that I think does affect our state aid.
Yeah.
And those are the numbers they recognize. So that's why we're there. And then we did, talk about the Dyer Road. I didn't, and then after the meeting, Bill and I went looking for some maps and we could not find the map that Mr. Mandela referenced. So I'm going to contact him and see if he can get us a copy. And to that note, I know one of our agenda items
We
was
have
to
number,
deliberative.
letter B.
Can we continue to just table that till we get the that information.
Yeah, why don't we put B, which is deliberative session on Dyer Road, put that off until our next meeting on January 2nd.
Yeah, and we'll see if we can come up, and that's pretty much the end of our discussion.
Very good. Thanks for covering that.
And something.
Those up.
I think we got everybody.
Okay.
Oh, there was one quick thing, and that was, we did review the ordinance for the highway stuff in there, and we are going to recommend the adoption of the, what is that, it's the road
Sidewalks.
streets and sidewalks ordinance. There's only a minor changes with the culvert size, but Dave's been all through it, and so
So we'll put copies in the next packet.
Okay.
We'll start that then, so.
Okay.
yeah.
Good. We will be.
All right, very good. That was the
Good.
other
Thank
thing.
you, folks.
Yep.
All right. So that actually under committee reports takes care of police and highway because we did police earlier. All right, Marcia Chioffi, town head lister. And let's see, I think we have something here.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Marcia.
Hi, Marcia.
Hopefully you all got a copy of Gail Gantick's proposal for the upcoming year for the business personal property.
It was I think this was on the desk packet.
Yeah.
It's G and K at the top of the letterhead.
Correct.
And this is $30,000. So what's the story behind this, Marcia? Because you have presented this, I think, last year.
Correct. So, this is Gail's proposal. In past years, she was working as an assessor, head assessor for the town of Hartford, Connecticut as their chief assessor. And she was using their facilities and their to help us out. Now she is now on her own, and she has presented us with a $30,000 proposal, and this is actually what I did was last year she brought in 26 new accounts, which amounted to $9.694 million in new revenue to Rutland Town, which is 0.003% of her entire fee.
Marcia, I don't think that is quite accurate because I don't think she brought in $9 million in revenue. She might have, it might be $9 million in property, but the revenue from that would be considerable, whatever the tax rate would be less than 9 million.
Well, fine.
I understand.
She still brought in that amount of money, Joey.
9 million? The town doesn't take in $9 million.
Oh, yes, it did. These 26 accounts brought in $9 million of revenue based on, if you divide it by 100, that still brought in that amount of money. Now, I want to tell you something. Coming up, I will be presenting you with a report on what the state of Vermont is proposing in their state takeover of appraisals for the entire state of Vermont. Now, I don't know how the state of Vermont is going to justify appraising commercial businesses and industrial businesses. GE alone brings in an enormous amount of taxes in business personal property, even at the rate of 0.217 per 100. She follows all of these accounts. She visits all of these accounts. She justifies all of these accounts. So I don't know what the problem is of paying her a justified fee of $30,000.
I'm looking at the budget because that's where we would be. Well, I have two questions. One is the contract that you're proposing from Gail, is that for the coming fiscal year or is that for this fiscal year? And then the second observation or question is, we've budgeted $6,500 for the past several years to actually have her do the work. Why the big increase?
Well, have any of you received an increase in pay since 1998 when she presented this proposal? And could she still be getting $6,500 from 1998 to 2024? I don't think so.
I'm not clear what proposal we're referring to. Are we missing a document?
Marcia never said.
Do you have this?
I sent it on Monday morning. I sent the proposal from Gail to everyone on the board.
Okay, well, I have it because I printed it out. I'm gonna
Okay,
pass it.
okay, so maybe it was in, I could pull it
Oh,
up
you've
by
got it
email
right.
then.
You've got it. What's that in front of you? The
This is,
GK.
I don't know what this is. This is
That's
an old
just the bills.
invoice.
That's
for
the
last
payments
year.
to this lady.
Okay.
So maybe I have it here in my email. Well, okay, so this was the $30,000 to essentially monitor our personal property grand list, right?
Correct.
But Marcia's not referring to a prior contract. So are we to understand that this proposal is for the same services that she's been performing since 1998, but from 1998 up until now, it's been $6,500 a year?
Correct.
Or is this a proposal for additional services?
This is not a proposal for additional services. It's a proposal for past services and future services. Gail goes out and actually visits multiple businesses. She brings in new businesses. And she, this year alone, between Oliver Subaru and Lundgren Subaru, Lundgren, the other part of the that whole conglomerate, she spent over 6 days with these people because they did not know anything about what business personal property was all about. She has also visited several new businesses. Like I said, 26 new businesses brought into the town of Rutland this year.
So
what's our personal property tax rate? That's 0.21.
0.217.
That's of a cent.
Right.
Is that
And
of
out of that-
that's of a cent, not of a dollar?
It's 0.217 per 100.
Per
Per 100.
$100 value grand list.
Right.
So for 1,000.
So on $9 million, that brings in $19,000 to the town.
No,
19.5.
it brings in a lot more, Kurt. Brings a lot more.
It doesn't.
Well, if it's
maybe it would be useful for us to have a report on this, or maybe Mary will find it in the report. I don't know, but I think this is something we don't have our arms around, and perhaps we should.
Yeah, because 9 million divided by 100
Okay, so if you look at page
times
No, no, no.
0.217.
The
35 in
business
the,
personal property brings in 301,050,134 is what the business personal property is rated at. Okay,
that's the grand list value.
correct.
That's not what it brings in.
90,000.
So I'm looking at page 35 in the town report 2022. And that's where you have your report, Marcia. So grand list values, there's a chart for that. And our real property grand list is 668,018,000. Our
Correct.
business personal property grand list value is 303,304,176.
Correct.
But then you divide that by 100 to get per 100 rate and multiply it by 0.217.
Yeah.
It's 2 cents.
So that's like 353,000 or 653,000 ish.
Right.
In revenue to the town.
Yeah.
How much? Roughly
It's like 653.
653,000.
53,000 property. But if you figure $9 million in found property, divide the 9 million like Kurt did to the assessor per 100, you get 90,000. And if you multiply 90,000 by 0.217, you get $19,530, which is a good increase, but I don't think it justifies the expense. And I'm wondering now that we have 2 additional folks in the office that are participating with the day-to-day operation, they're working 20 hours a week each. Could we do more of this in-house with a little training on what personal property is? We have 2 new assessors in Jack and Marie, where we didn't have active people before. You know, I'd like to see how they're working out and how this would, if they're interested, you know, to do this, we could keep this in-house. In that way, we're saving, we're going to end up, maybe we'll miss an account or 2, but we'll save the 30 grand and we're already paying these folks to be there. So
Are you really going to save 30 grand? I did the workup on hiring all 3 of us at full time for the full year without the without benefits. It would come out to $213,400.
But Marcia, given the numbers you gave us, the differential between coming up with $9 million in additional tax amount and what the town receives in taxes is only $19,000. That if we had paid Gail the 30 grand while she was doing this, we would show an $11,000 deficit. So even though there's an increase in income, the other side goes out, and anybody that runs a business will tell you that if you're paying more out than you're taking in, you're not long for this world.
Okay, well, tell me something, Joey. You are no longer in the farming business, correct? You are
not in the dairy business, but I'm still farming.
No, you're not in the dairy business, but you are running a business personal property. You're selling, you're doing excavating, you're doing extra work. Shouldn't you be paying business personal property?
I do only hay and crops, so I don't know if the farms are fall under that.
But you're not in farming anymore. This is
He has portable
business.
equipment like I do,
Yeah.
which means we're not susceptible to personal property because our equipment is not necessarily used on our property.
Yeah. And I don't think you want to make this a personal issue.
No, I
So
don't
if
like
that
a personal issue, but I can't see where $30,000 to pay Gail for what she does is such a big term of contention with this board.
So if I could speak, this is Marie. I'm under John's
Thank you,
computer.
Marie.
You're
Oh,
welcome.
gotcha, Marie. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I would have to admit that when I first was listening last year about the business personal property issue, I too wondered, like you guys are, why it's not an in-house project by the listers. Coming in new and actually seeing what happens, I have changed my opinion considerably. First of all, there is a misconception, Joey, with all due respect, that it's not just the 19,000 that she brought in. She oversees the handling and the corresponding tax filings of every single corporation that files one. We send them out and then she gets them. She goes through and she compares previous filings to current filings for every single business personal property tax filer. When equipment is fallen off the list, like say for GE last year GE had like 50 some odd computers worth thousands of dollars just disappear off the list. She knew that. She's doing that line by line item comparison, and then she's tracking them down. She wants to know what happened to them, because if they disposed of them, that is information that's important. If they still have them, they still have value. So I would have to say I was surprised when I learned that she actually goes to all these places. She actually has tracked down businesses that we didn't know that were there. And I was quite surprised by the level of work, but also the institutional knowledge she has for the database for the depreciation schedules. That would be a significant learning curve. And currently, that I am not doing 20 hours a week. Those 20 hours are over the course of 2 weeks. And I do not anticipate really increasing that many hours. Do I think down the road, if we had to, could we learn? Absolutely. But you're going to be eating the cost of that 30,000 for the learning curve as well for what she does. A lot of the hours that have happened just for Jack and I going up to this point in time has been training. We've done 4 full day courses with the state. And so a lot of that has been training, and there's a learning curve. So yes, we would be eating quite a bit of that 30,000 in learning, which is not to say it's not impossible, but I'm saying at what point is it economical? The other concern I have, and that the town may need to be thinking about, and maybe it's just for 1 year that you go forward with this, is that the state is reconsidering whether or not they are doing away with your town listers or hiring appraisers, mandating appraisers. If that's the case, then you're going to require a independent contractor if you're going to continue doing personal property. And to do what she does at 30,000, if we discontinue her contract, you're not going to get her back for that price. And that she has a lot of information. And whether or not, if we lose it, do we get the proprietary information of her database? That's another consideration that hasn't been questioned, because whether it's their information or our information is another thought process. Do we have to recreate the whole database from what she uses for all the depreciation schedules? So that's information.
So Marie, that has a question.
Yes.
So if I could, perhaps I can restate the issue of, I think there may have been a misunderstanding on our end about what the line item was for in the budget. I think we were looking at it, seeing an increase and thinking, okay, we're being asked to increase this contract for some reason, but it would, my understanding now, I guess, from what I'm hearing, is that what we're being asked is the appropriate price for the maintenance of the entire personal property grand list, which constitutes roughly almost a third of the total grand list, albeit at a lower rate. So I'm not sure where it comes out. Well, what was the number we calculated for tax, 300,000 or something out of,
No, $658,000 worth of
600.
income to the town that she
right, and our total, what are our total tax collections are what now?
Well, I was giving you grand list values.
No, I know, but
Okay.
what,
Oh,
Bill, do you happen to know off the top of your head or Marcia, what our property tax collections are?
Well,
wait,
well,
another-
But I get,
property-
but the point is, what we have to decide is what's the appropriate amount to pay to maintain this business personal property grand list, which we outsource. It's not done by our listers, correct?
Correct.
It's partially, yes, and it's but then once my understanding, and Marcia can talk to this more, but once she gets all the actual tax returns and she's inputting all the data and she gets the information, if there's changes, then that's something that we do, but it's a much reduced ability having to do that because she's doing all the utility accounts. But my also thing I've learned is that, the town, because she was doing this with the cooperation of another town, the town got the benefit for numerous years at that rate of $6,500. And so, yes, it sounds like it's a huge jump now, but what would be the price had you had to pay all those years ago to have somebody come in and not have the benefit of the databases? Now that she's an independent contractor, she's responsible for having all that licensure and all of that.
Well,
So, that's a thought process. Go
So a
ahead.
couple questions on that. I didn't understand the comment about cooperation with another town. Maybe you can expound on that. But secondly, if we're going to have a contract with her for this, could we not include a provision in that says we get to retain the data?
Yeah.
Seems like that would be,
Well, we do retain the data.
Let me add that.
You fixed Jack's. Hang on, Jack. You've got an echo that's quite bad. I'm not sure if we can.
Given the
Maybe you
level
need
of
to mute it.
experience that Gail has, it would take Maria and I and Marcia several years to come up to the level that she has already achieved. So what you're getting is a bargain. What you're getting is a bargain from her, because to bring us up to her speed in what she does would just take forever. I'm talking 3 to 5 years.
So can you explain again the issue with that was referenced with another town? Were we previously sharing this cost with somebody else somehow?
Gail has been an experienced personal property representative up and down the East Coast for years. She has done the Rutland town personal property. She's done the town of Pittsford. She does Maine. She does New Hampshire. She does all of GE up and down the East Coast.
I'm sorry. My question was why the change in what was the issue that's affected the change in cost now?
Do you want,
there was a comment
to train Marie and I and Marcia into doing what Gail already does? I'm paid a pittance. Marcia's paid a pittance. But over the years, we're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars to get us up to the level where Gail already is.
What I'm trying to understand here is why are you asking for us to sign a $30,000 contract when we have $30,000 worth of invoices for this year already on our desk?
I think the 30,000 that you have on your desk came from
in our packet.
the reappraisal fund. So it didn't come out of the town budget. Am I
The
correct?
reappraisal fund is part of the
That's-
budget.
Yes,
I'm not
yeah,
seeing
that's correct,
what that is.
because when
So-
the board,
So
There
there,
we
board
are.
didn't
there's two
approve
different
the,
items in the budget. One is 65 and one is 18. And so I'm not sure that,
So when the board didn't approve spending $30,000 on Gale, you guys went ahead and did it instead and used the reappraisal fund.
which was approved by the Vermont Tax Department because she was doing reappraisals. She was going to businesses to reevaluate what they were putting down in business personal property and bringing in new businesses.
Okay, can I interrupt for a minute here? We did receive the proposal from you, Marcia, or at
Correct.
least most of us did. But
Yep.
then we've got some other information on our desk about payments actually made. For example, October 10th, 2023, Gail billed for $17,000, and that was paid out of the reappraisal money market.
I
Correct.
don't have that.
Yeah, no, and I think I have that, but Joey's got different information.
I mean, that's the
Where
same.
did this additional stuff come from? Okay, so it looks like Kari pulled out some of the information. So why don't we just, I mean, if you're gonna pay her out of the reappraisal fund, why do we need to budget $30,000?
Well, fine. We can pay her out of the reappraisal fund because the state has ordered that we can pay her because she's doing a rolling, what they call a rolling reappraisal. And we can do it out of that. That's fine.
But this is, I mean, I'm a little perturbed that the select board knew nothing about this particular use of town funds.
You signed
Um,
the order.
So, and it seems like it's already being covered, and yeah, why is the state saying it's okay to use town funds in a particular way? I don't really get that, but
Because she's doing reappraisals. It's a rolling reappraisal. She's going to different businesses, inspecting what they're doing, and it's
Tell us.
like a reappraisal from the state. It's a reappraisal rolling fund.
okay, so I get that part, but why then can't you just continue to use it, and why the change to $30,000 in the town budget if you're just going to use the reappraisal fund to continue?
Where's the fund? We put money away in our fund for reappraisal. I thought there was like 180,000. Is that a different fund?
I don't know.
Correct. That's correct, Joey. We have over $200,000 in the reappraisal fund. Okay. Now, what's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 years is we are probably going to lose the reappraisal funds because the state is going to take over reappraisals. Okay. So we're not going to have that money anymore.
So we should be using it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but what happens if they don't take over reappraisals? They slap us with a reappraisal and we don't have the funding.
Right.
They're not going to do that, Kirk.
So is that fund, where is
State
that
has
fund?
already, the state has already, Act 68 has already been proven by the state. They're going to take over state reappraisal of all cities and towns in the state of Vermont.
All right,
And
so
I'm going
the,
to be giving
you know, just for
you-
the,
This is anticipated income is 18,500 a year from reappraisal maintenance. And that
so,
would go into that fund every year, right?
yeah, okay, so
So we're not putting any in this year because we spent it on something else.
we're looking at the budget too, the general budget, because we're looking at the first page, which shows income, and about 2/3 of the way down, line 229, reappraisal maintenance, and that figure is 18,500. Is that a grant from the state every year?
That's the per parcel payment from the state.
Okay,
So
And that goes into the reappraisal fund?
Correct.
basically.
Sorry, Marcia, I didn't hear that. Does that go into the reappraisal
Yes,
fund?
it does. Yes, Mary.
Okay, okay.
We're asking, so basically they need $23,500 more to cover the contract from what we were normally budgeting. And this lady wants to do it for that.
Okay, and then I'm looking at page 44 of the last year's town report. And that shows, this is a general reappraisal account. The balance as of June of 2021 was 189,146. Then we had some interest. And then the state of Vermont provided 18,335, which is roughly what this is. So as of June of last year, it was 207,783. So if we look at it as of June of this year, it will show the payments coming out. Did you take any money out in fiscal year 22-23?
No, we did not.
Okay, so that would show 207 plus another 18,500 or so.
Correct.
And this year, you know, we'll have 18,500 coming in, but then we've got to show the approximately what, 30,000 that has gone out to Gale so far? 17,000
plus. Well, it'd be 17 plus, there's 30,000 been paid out of, but it might be two, no, it's one budget because one was 7, 9 and 10. So I'm not sure when that was paid. One was 731, 925, and then again on the 1023. So they all came out of the current budget.
Okay, so what are those three? One was 17,000.
6,500 and 6,500. So it's
$30,000.
$30,000 has been paid
Okay,
to date.
okay,
And there was only 25 available. If you used up all of the 18 plus the 65,
yeah,
so that was this already.
all right.
I mean, basically the 30,000 is an additional 23,500 from what we are paying. If we're going to hire this lady to continue to do what she's doing for 30 grand a year.
Well, it looks like we've already paid her this year.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, this will be for the fiscal year starting July of 24.
it's an additional expense. I think the question is, can we then just cover it out of these, out of the appraisal fund money? Or is that unwise? Because
Well,
we
I think
need
it's
to consider-
unwise because we don't, you know, right now, we have just lost this year's contribution to that 200,000. Because it's already gone. We've already spent it.
Yep.
And so
And half
if,
of last
if,
year's.
you know, I know there's a lot of ifs out there. I understand this about the state may take it over and the state may do all the appraisal, but there's nothing that says the state isn't going to say your contribution, Rutland Town, to the state appraisal is this amount of money. We have, nothing is said that even if the state takes it over, we don't have to pay it. Or the last time we had an appraisal, we paid for it. The bulk of it, I believe, came out of the reappraisal fund. That's why you suck money away, isn't to anticipate this coming out. I don't know. It's not, it's a small stretch of what the reappraisal maintenance is versus what the reappraisal 6,500 every year is. They're like two different accounts. One is for anticipated down the road appraisal and one is for what you're doing each year. So I don't know.
Joe, let
Yeah,
me
what
ask
cost-
you, Joe,
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
let me ask you, when's the last time that you worked for $6,500 a year on this kind of position?
kind of what we're doing now is the select board.
And, but the reality of this is this lady didn't work for 6,500. She just billed us for 30 grand and it was paid. So the 6,500 was what the contract was. If she wanted more
In
money for the last
1998.
25, if she, excuse me,
1998.
right. And if that price went up, it is not on the Rutland Town Select Boards. You've gone through about every year for 25 years, a different board sitting here. It's not on us to, oh, you're only making $6,500. You should be making 85. Every other, contractor, anybody that works for the town would ask for additional money. So when you're working at $6,500 as your own price, and you don't go to the folks you're working for and said, you know, we have a cost of living increase, we have whatever, that's not on Rutland Town. So when you jump in here and say, okay, we're going to go from 65 to 30, it's a staggering amount, in the board, which is very responsible financially to this town, is going to ask a poop load of questions before we're just going to say, okay. The fact that 30 grand has been paid since the 31st of July indicates to me this individual is no longer paying the 6,500 or getting paid that, which was the agreed upon price. I have no idea who authorized the additional money, and I don't know who authorized the expenditure of the reappraisal maintenance money to pay this. Normally, when things go from one account to another, the board is informed of it. The board has a responsibility of signing the orders that okay payments. And if we have questions, we usually ask those questions first. So I don't want to hear about working for 25 years for $6,500. That's not on me and Mary and Matt and Sharon and Kurt. That's not on us. If somebody wants more money, they have to ask for it like everybody else does. There's a couple of things here that look like irregularities to me that have not been processed properly. Normally, this board does not refuse payments to anyone when they're justified and they're explained properly, and how things are done. I learned for 12 years sitting on the other side of this desk that when I came to the board and asked for stuff, I needed to have my ducks in a row and be able to justify what I asked for. Now, you guys are coming in after the money has been spent, and you're asking us to allocate an additional $23,500 to this line. And monies were spent that weren't authorized. To the best I said, I do believe this discussion came up maybe a year ago or a while ago about hiring this individual for this money, and the board said no. Now, I don't know if there's some miscommunication or what. This precedes both Marie and Jack being in the lister's office. And there was a lot of confusion there for about a year. So some things got out of whack and some things probably didn't get it done exactly right. We can get by most of that, but we need good, clear explanations as to why these prices go up and what's going on. And so I know that not all of this is the kind of conversation maybe you want to hear when you're asking for money, but these are questions the board is going to ask. And we're going to get what we need to hear to make a decision as to what dollars go into that line item. But I don't like what I think is a misuse of funds to pay for service that the board did not authorize. That's me. We didn't have money. Yep.
Thank you.
And you're
Okay,
right,
let's see.
Joe.
Thank you.
If I could, I do remember this conversation coming up last year because I was listening at a select board meeting and I listened to Gail. I think Gail was invited to speak to the board, and I remember listening to her. And I guess my impression was that it had been approved for this past tax year, and that this new proposal, or not this proposal, the proposal that's in front of you right now is just a continuation of what she was approved last year for the 30,000. So the fact that this is new to you is I'm under misimpression. I thought she'd been paid, had been approved by the board to have a $30,000 payment for this past tax year. So that this was just a continuation.
Marie,
I think it came
Marie.
out tax time last.
Marie, she was not, we did not authorize that.
Okay.
Because I was one of the ones that said, wait a minute. I mean, I really had an issue with it. So no, we did not authorize it.
Okay.
All right, so let's moving forward here, we've got to fill in a line in the general budget which relates to reappraisal maintenance. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And then how do we, if that's maintenance,
the-
how do we fund
The
the
reappraisal,
reappraisal?
the reappraisal maintenance is a amount paid to us by the state, and that's on the income side.
That's on the income. I see
Right.
that.
And then the outgoing side, which is I gotta find the right page, but it's that page of the 30 grand. We have been budgeting 65
Yes.
for the
Yes.
past years, and I do believe that
And that's-
last year at this time, we had this discussion.
Yeah.
This amount was asked for. The board decided not to put that amount in.
Right.
And that's why the 65 is in the current budget. But the lady still charged us the 30,
I understand all of that. What I'm trying to figure out is
so.
Appraisal update. Is that just for updating the grand list? And where and how do we pay for a complete townwide reappraisal if we get hit with that?
That's the appraisal fund. That's at 200,000.
I think so, but we're putting,
We're supposed to be putting 18 in there every year to make that go up.
and I saw that and I
the
read
state
you the
gives us that,
numbers
right.
from the town report. I guess what
So basically, we shortchanged our reappraisal fund
I
to pay
understand
this
that
other
too.
account. So,
We didn't, but it
but
happened.
well,
Yeah,
we did because we signed the orders.
no, we probably
And
did.
We approved it.
At this
So
point, I don't suppose we have any notion of what a reappraisal would actually cost.
That's
No.
the question. How much would a townwide reappraisal cost? Have you heard any numbers out there? Any, either of any of our listers?
I'll throw in
I have
something.
not. I know the city is working, they've just executed a contract, but I do not know the particulars of it for, when they put the bid out, because they're under a reappraisal order now. According
Right.
to the state information that's coming down, there's the states are gonna require, the state's gonna require towns to reappraise every 6 years now, beginning in December, 2025. And their proposal is, say that again?
No, I go ahead.
So I don't know the amount, the number for Rutland City, but I mean, I'm sure that we can probably inquire of different towns that are under reappraisal that are actually doing them now, what their fees are looking like. And I don't think that would be something that I'm sure they would have to, it's public information, I'm sure. So we can probably figure that out.
So
But yeah.
when is it going to hit us? When are we going to be state ordered to reappraise?
We were.
No, we were not. Our COD was below the 20%, so we do not have to reappraise right now.
Right.
The
Gonna be
COA has gone away. We were at 84.4 and
Yeah.
we're at 16.4 for the COD, which is not at the 20%.
Okay, so the goalpost moved.
Correct.
So it could be, what the district advisor has told us in conversations is that we're looking at, maybe 2 to 3 years from now.
Okay.
But
And
then-
if the state goes to reappraise every 6 years, then we're going to be caught in that anyway, because we haven't reappraised and
Since
yeah, it's been a while.
1998.
No.
All right.
2000.
So we need to know how much to budget for in 2 years to have enough money to pay for a townwide reappraisal, except you're telling us by then the state may take it over.
Correct.
It's kind of like the
So
dispatch
this
center.
so the reappraisal update line that we're discussing the additional 23,500 for, is that just for personal property? It does nothing for any other property? This is just personal property?
It's everything.
Well,
It
the-
has to be just personal property because we're paying Gail 6,500 a year, and that's 6,500 bucks. So
Right.
that uses the entire budget line.
right, and she wants 30, but so that she's not doing, she's just doing personal property reappraisal year to year for the 30,000 and looking at companies and seeing what needs to be taxed and not taxed. I don't know. I would prefer to have a line and pay it where it should come from instead of dipping into the funds that we're setting aside. Those funds are generated by the state or sent to us by the state as income. And I guess it's okay.
Well, the state apparently okayed it
Yeah.
because they
Well,
didn't ask us.
They didn't have,
Somebody
so
did.
they
No.
said, but you know, if we're going to be spending it, let's put it where it needs to be and not jeopardize our other funds.
When do these have to be finalized again?
Yesterday.
Joe, where's that $6,500 line item?
It's
It's-
next to the last page,
Next to the last page, Matt.
toward the bottom.
Yep. It's almost the end of it, actually.
No, I think we need to do a little bit more due diligence before we slap a number at this, and we'll have to finalize it the next meeting.
And I think Marcia was going to provide us with a report on what the state is going to do, and that may be helpful for us
Absolutely.
planning longer range.
I will be preparing that report for the January 2nd meeting.
Okay,
Because we have to have this ready for the meeting that we are going to set here sometime tonight
So,
or tomorrow morning, whenever we get there.
are we now, are we still trying to decide whether the 30,000 is the right number? Or are we just deciding where to pay it from?
Well,
generally-
that's the amount this woman, Gail, has
Right.
proposed as a budget going forward.
Well,
Okay.
and that's apparently what she got. So
Yep.
Yeah,
my sense is, I wasn't here when this was discussed last year, obviously, and I'm not thrilled about what I'm hearing about how it's been handled.
Mhm.
But we generally, we generally rely on our department heads to tell us what is appropriate expenditure. We've heard from all of our listers that they think the $30,000 is a good deal. So I'm inclined to think that that's the proper expense for that line, but we need to decide whether that's all to be raised by taxes or if some of that can be paid out of the reappraisal fund.
see, I don't know that we should dip into it.
And that's why we
Reappraisal fund.
need, we need some
I think
kind of
that's
information about what we
right.
need to be saving for, because
You know, if the state takes it over, we don't know what conditions they will
yeah,
put on. I can't believe the state of Vermont is going to pay each town over the past number of years a certain percentage per parcel and allow towns to accrue that money and have it, and then say, well, you can keep it and we're going to do the appraisal, because
Yeah.
that just isn't going to happen.
well, I also have a question about whether the state is taking over the personal property inventories or whether they're only doing the real estate.
And if that's the case, we will need to continue to pay someone to
Yeah.
probably do this. So, I mean, the
Absolutely, Mary.
numbers,
We don't know whether the state is going to take over business personal property. If they do, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't.
Right. But one thought to be considered is that there's only nine towns out of the whole state that still tax business personal property. So it's not a huge factor for the state to be considering the real estate appraisal. So that is a
given the
thought.
fact that we have a little clearer understanding. I'm disappointed in how this has been handled in this current budget. It's kind of contrary to what the board advised a year ago, but I guess we've done it. The putting that money in there would make more sense than to rob Peter to pay Paul. So I would, I guess, move that we allow this 30 to be in there if we're going to spend it and continue the personal property. It's a year by year contract, and if we find that it's not cost effective, we just don't.
So a motion's been made to
Just leave
put
that.
the item $30,000 in for appraisal update. That's line 630 of the general budget. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Discussion.
Can't think of anything else to say.
Oh, no, Joey's run out of things to
Wow.
say.
If I still want
I think
that
we should
due
take,
diligence
I think we
because-
should table this until next meeting so we
Okay.
can get a better grip on
Yeah.
what's going on.
Right.
Okay, so motion's been made and seconded, but there's also a request to table. And we have asked for some additional information. So
I'll bow to the table.
Joe's crawled under the table.
I
So
can wait
this
tomorrow.
goes on the table,
You can
which
do it on
means
me
we're
next
not
time.
going to be able to finalize our general budget tonight, but we're creeping closer.
That's the only, I think
We're
that's
right
the,
there.
that's the
No,
only,
we still have to do the
public safety building.
public
numbers.
safety
Yeah.
building
We'll
numbers.
get
So,
those.
okay, all right. So this is on the table for our next meeting on January 2nd. All right. And we'll look for some additional information, particularly if you folks can find out what towns of comparable grand list size might be paying for reappraisals. That would be really helpful. Okay.
That's per week.
All right. Thank you, folks.
So I'm not
Thank
sure
you.
what they were saying about not working 20 hours because that's what they're allocated.
All right.
Anyway. Who the heck did we leave off with?
So we got Marcia,
Now we're down to
Chris
Christopher.
Clark, Town Fire Chief. Now, we do have,
He might have fallen asleep by now.
well,
Or gone home. No, he is home.
he's
He
got to
can't
wake
go
up
home, he is home.
because he wants a pickup truck, so
Yeah.
we need to pay
That's pretty good.
attention.
I wish I could buy a pickup truck for that.
Yeah.
Good evening,
Hi,
everybody.
Chris. Hi, Chris.
The
Your
numbers
desk
the town got.
Breakdown of the pickup truck. So the first page is the truck. The second page is like the lights and accessories and all that stuff for it. The third page is from CVC paging for the radios. And the fourth page is from Awesome Graphics to do the decals. So a total.
I only have 3 pages.
Me too.
I got 4.
I got 4.
Oh,
Is that the one on the desk?
That came after my packet, so I don't.
Did you have one on the desk, Mary? You should have one on the
I
desk.
have
There's one on the desk and one in the packet.
Yeah, the one on the desk doesn't have a letter on it. And that has page 4 in the
One
back.
on the
One,
desk
two.
came later.
Yeah, that has. the-
So
The
we're
desk
using the
five-
one that has 4 pages and it's on the desk and,
Once it got found.
all right.
Christopher, do you have that number for the 4 different pages?
Yeah, I'm not signing it.
The total?
Yes, please.
The total is $70,588.14.
14. That's not too bad for a pickup truck.
Okay, so just to be clear, the McGovern, Stephen Anderson, Public Safety Vehicle Specialist thing, this is the state bid price?
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
That gets us past the purchasing policy.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, that's where, I believe that's where we just bought the cruiser from, right?
I think we did.
Yeah.
Because I think
Yep.
Chris and Bill worked to get that information. Okay. All right, what should we know about this and truck people? What have you observed about this? I want to get a truck too, but
If
let's
it's-
just say that.
If
right?
it's what the fire department wants, it's a good price. I mean, the warning equipment, the lighting pack, the stuff they need are just part of it.
So
And if this suits their needs, I think this is fine.
is this coming? Okay, 2 questions. Number 1, has the fire committee seen this? And number 2, is this just coming out of depreciation?
Yes.
So does this need to go to committee for review?
I think when it came to fire committee for review, Sharon wasn't able to participate. It was me and Chris sitting and chatting. And at that time, he didn't have this state bid price. And I suggested that he needed to get that because that would comply with our purchasing policy. So he has provided this. Has it gone since then to the fire committee? No, it has not.
So I guess my thinking is, if the fire department and the committee has, looked at the replacement schedule for things, and this fits in that.
This truck
then-
should have been replaced
Yes.
6 years ago.
We did look at that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
If the-
overdue for replacement.
The replacement schedule is based on roughly 24 years of service per truck. The truck was bought new in 92, 93. So realistically, it should have been gone 2016 or thereabouts, or even sooner. It actually should have been gone, 20 years, 8. He's like, yeah, 16. So we've kept it beyond its projected lifespan. And other than going over this with, it's Mary and Sharon, and they'll get the, whatever, if they want to go there. But if you guys are okay, I would say we just approve it and move on, because
Sharon, do you mind if they skip our committee and vote on this tonight?
Not at all. I mean, Joey knows more about the stuff than any of us, do, because he's been involved with the fire department. So no, I agree with you, Mary. I think we can.
But we will call in this favor at a later date, correct?
Yeah,
gotta get at least-
you got.
Okay.
Which
Yep.
favor? The favor we will call in the favor of skipping
Leave
your
it
committee. Gives then you more work to do.
Indeterminate. So I think Joey might have a motion.
yeah, I would move that we approve the purchase of the truck as outlined by the chief. It's a good deal. That's okay.
Okay, and that includes all of the
Yes.
addendums to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Is
that's
there a
second.
second? And second by Kurt. Okay, any further discussion? And-
Did they give you a time frame, Chris?
Yeah, that was my next question.
They did not.
Yeah, that sounds
I
about
wanted
right.
to make sure we had it all approved before I went too much further, but I will ask him tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just out of
It'll be hard-
curiosity.
It'll be, I'd be willing to take odds on whether the station's finished first or you get the truck.
I'm kind of hoping the station's finished first.
The problem is red. When I,
No,
No.
14 weeks to build it.
right, but the problem has been red trucks because Dave ordered a very similar truck. And red was, put it out 2 or 3 times as long to get a red
Hey,
one.
I just noticed something, which is the quote from Awesome Graphics. The estimates are valid for 30 days, but if we don't get the truck within that period of time, this number may not be valid. So I don't know what's going to happen with that.
Well, if he
Someone
orders
put
the
sticker.
stuff, if he orders it and has it, it should be valid, he told me.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
And
all right.
But not.
the purchase of the truck has a contract for sales agreement to sign.
Yeah.
And
One signature.
I'll amend my motion to authorize, I guess, does it say on there who?
It says print name, title, and signature.
Make Mary do it.
Yeah, we'll have, I guess, the board chair to sign on behalf of the
do I
town.
get a ride? I didn't get a ride in the new fire truck. Am I going to get a ride in this?
I can't answer that.
I'll let you drive it.
All right, so the motion's been made and seconded to approve the packet for the new pickup truck for the fire department, authorizing the chair to sign on behalf of the select board. Is there any further discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Sharon? Aye.
Aye.
So
Yep.
vote is unanimous, and I am not really sure where to sign, but
So, Chris, do you have a projected plan on the sale or removal of the current 350?
Where the
And
hell
what
is
are your
that one?
ideas?
The other version.
Well, I know everything else has been put out to bid, and we, like engine 3, we didn't make much money on it. So I was kind of hoping that you would make the same deal and let me ask firefighters to purchase it before it goes out to bid, and we can put the money back in the depreciation fund.
Mary says she is looking
So-
for a truck.
So what I was going to suggest, and this may seem a little, I don't like the idea of the firemen bidding against each other for the truck. So what I would propose is that if Chris has multiple individuals within the department, it's kind of a unique truck. It's a 92 Ford diesel automatic long box 350, with about 20,000 miles on it.
Jesus.
Yep.
if there is multiple people that were interested in it, I would like to see we come up with a fair price for it. And then everybody that's interested, they could put the names in a hat, and Mary will pull a name out of a hat for, as board chair, and whoever's name. So run that by your guys, Chris. And
I
see
will.
if they're in. I don't like the idea.
So I make one person really happy and a whole bunch of people totally ticked off.
Fine, then
at
I'll
me.
do it. Or we'll find somebody else to do it. But I'm just thinking, I just didn't like the idea
Well,
of
let's-
the board, of the firemen bidding
Yeah,
against each other.
let's hold on that. I'm
Okay.
interested to know what the thing might be worth anyway. I have no clue. But okay.
I would
so-
say, it depends. If you really want to collect, somebody might bid 15 grand on it. Somebody might think it's worth 5.
Yeah, it's
An
really,
old smoking 6 or 7.3, they're kind of neat. But Dave will tell you that you start that up in the highway garage and you have to go outside for a while.
that's every high school kid's dream.
Yeah.
Put some
Doesn't
big
have as
salami
many.
stacks in the back, blow
God.
smoke everywhere.
Yeah. But
Feed a half a
so
can
maybe
of
we
ether
find
to
out
get
how
started
many
in the
guys he's
morning.
got interested, and then we'll see
All
about the
right.
price. Okay.
All right,
Does that
whatever.
work all right for you, Chris?
That works for me.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else you want to give Chris while he's on the line? Okay.
Going to talk about the
Oh,
costs of it.
Oh, Chris, did you get a chance to look at
Yes.
the electric
Public's-
and the fuel cost for McKinley?
I started the process and I haven't quite finished it yet.
Okay, because we'll
Oh,
probably need those numbers to decrease your budget by next board meeting, and then put those into the general with a little bump up for the public safety building, and we'll look into that gloomy crystal ball again.
yeah.
Okay.
So those are, yeah, and I know Carrie was out straight doing all of our bond
I
stuff,
didn't-
so.
yeah.
And so these are the last few entries on general budget.
Right.
Public safety building maintenance has got 2,000 in it, public safety building electricity, and public safety building heating fuel.
Yep.
So those still need to go.
Right.
Okay.
So we can,
For next
we got a hiatus.
Sorry, Chris,
And-
what?
I said I'll have that ready for you for the next meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And I got one other question.
Yep.
2 weeks ago, we talked about the fire hydrant ordinance. Is that something you want to send a letter out now so they have time to see what they got to do, or do you want to wait, and so they only have a couple months to get them tested or looked at, or the sooner the better, in my opinion, so we can make sure they all
Here
work.
too.
There are some updates to the ordinance. They are not gonna be a big deal,
Okay.
but what Chris had talked about was getting the word out there to the people that don't know anything about it
Mhm.
now. Even if we change it, it's still gonna be there. But it's things like making sure they add reflectors so we can find them in snowbank, like nothing of any real
Mhm.
consequence, but sending something like this so the owners know now to plan for to the October deadline.
And you're targeting folks who actually have these private hydrants?
Yes,
Okay.
we have
Okay.
identified them. We have the list of them and almost all the property owner information already.
So the October 1st bill, is that 2024?
Yes.
Okay, so we might want
We should put that in.
it
Yeah,
says
yeah.
October 1st, but the year is not there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the only thing I
Yes.
saw, and then we'll date it. But I think this is,
And our, there's a website link.
yep.
There it is. That's what I was,
Even that one?
yep, that one.
Um,
Maybe a highlighter.
Okay, so I have a chicken and
Ahead
egg
of me.
thing. Do we wait since we've got until October of next year, and I know we want to get it done sooner. Do we wait and get the last few tweaks to the ordinance done and post the brand new ordinance with the changes on the website before we send this out?
So we talked about that, and if we talked about updating the ordinance in January,
Mhm.
which then starts a 60-day clock, so
Mhm.
it'd be March or April
Mm-hmm,
before the new one becomes effective.
mm-hmm.
So we could do that. The thought with this was getting the awareness out there because any of the changes that we make really aren't going to affect the testing process. The only real substantive change would making sure they put a flag on it. So.
Well, I'm still, and I remember, I'm remember saying we can't tackle this until January.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, bud, send, I don't know, we got a letter, you might as well ship it out.
I think the letter's not a bad idea. Just to
I
make
agree.
people aware. I like the fact that this is aware and you have time.
Well, if we do this, the full text of the ordinance is available at the town. However, you should be aware that amendments are being considered.
Yeah. And
So
maybe
then
something
it's
to,
just a notification.
With more letters to follow, maybe?
with the-
When we update the ordinance,
It
we'll
won't be
ship
that
it
hard
over.
to make a mailing list. Won't be that
All
hard.
right.
Yeah, I just give people where I don't, we don't want to sneak up on them. But the ordinance has been in place
For a while.
10 years.
Yeah.
Or about 15 years
So
probably.
That's
Since the
that's
Bealock
why
fire. So
the
anyway.
qualifier.
Okay.
But it's one of those ordinances where it requires yearly
Yeah.
participation by the people, and we don't have a process where we actually track this stuff.
Yeah.
Which is part of what we have to do at some, figure out something.
Well, I don't want them abiding by one ordinance and then finding out they have to do something
Right.
a little different. So,
Yeah, agreed.
This
Yeah.
is an awareness letter.
okay.
Good job, Bill.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. So we're on anything else for Chris Clark? Nope. Okay.
Steel's up on your part of the building.
Thank you, Chris.
I said, I
You're
think the
welcome.
steel's up. on your
All
part
right,
of
do you
the-
want to talk in the executive session after, or you want to do it a different day?
Oh, I forgot. Can you stay on a little while longer? So we did
I
have a
can.
request for executive session on a personnel matter and also for a real estate transaction matter. So I'm looking at what we have right now is to hear from Bill Sweet. And then we've been working on we've been working on, we've still got to set the pre-town meeting date.
That's the last.
So we're pretty close to the end. So if you can hang on a bit longer, Chris, I'd appreciate it.
Mary,
All right,
Yes.
I will. Thanks.
I just would note, our listers are no longer with us, but we had this other item on the desk
Yes.
regarding lister rates. I don't know how this impacts the budget figures for the lister costs. I don't know if it looks like these are all just reflecting 4% increases.
That came directly from Marcia.
And
So they're getting the current, I mean, if Marcia's making 26.50, I think we upped her last year to a
We
certain
did.
rate,
We did 25 and then she had the 6% increase.
which got
And
her
then
to
she
20.
has the projected 4% increase.
So-
I think that's where it
now
is.
just so remind me, is this because remind me the history on this? Have we always sort of had a head lister, or was the differential here simply just because of years of experience?
No, there's
No, it was
always
a
been
head lister. We put all of the department heads up to $25 an hour. And we
Then
put
they got
Marcia up.
6%
Right.
in this current budget, and then they're getting 4% in the next budget. My question is when you look at the hours,
Yeah, I know. That's different from
There-
what we heard.
right?
Yeah.
We have the two listers are, Marcia's considered full-time at 32 hours, I
Yeah.
believe. And the other two are at 20 hours. That's per week, not per pay period. You have to,
Yeah.
Correct.
Thought Marie said those per paid.
right, but
Yeah,
she might
Marie
not.
said every 2 weeks.
Marcia, you get paid every 2 weeks, but you,
That was Sharon.
Sharon, but they
No,
get
no.
paid every 2 weeks, but they make, the hourly rate is based on per week to be full-time, and it's
Right.
32 hours per week.
No,
So
I
in a
understand
2 week,
that.
Yeah.
Joey,
So-
I understand that. What I said was, Marie said that she puts in 20 hours in 2 weeks, not in 1 week.
That's
Right.
what I heard too, Sharon.
right,
Yes.
but she is authorized, and we have money for her for 20 hours per week. That's what's built into the budget. I just don't know if she knows that.
No, she did know that, but she said that she did not feel that she would ever didn't really want to have to get to that.
So we may need to analyze
Yeah.
what the impact is on the total pay line, because
Right.
maybe there's money there that we could reallocate
Right.
This is the other line.
Okay.
I see where you're going with that, but
If we're outsourcing the work, they're not putting in the hours that we had budgeted for, we can move that budget money to.
I don't know how that, well, they can
Okay.
work up to 20 hours a week.
Yeah, but I
Okay,
think
so let's
in all
take
fairness,
a look
we
at that.
should- I just think in all fairness, I wish Marie was still on because then I would feel more comfortable discussing her hours.
Well, Sharon, we've got to review the whole lister thing at our next
Okay.
meeting anyway. So this is not a lost opportunity. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, so Bill is up. What have we
Hi,
got?
good evening. Not much left. Excuse me. The only thing in the packet is our current 2-year contract for lawn maintenance is now up. Thoughts on sending out an RFP? I've got a draft here for you for the next 2
Pretty
years.
much what we sent out last
This
time.
is, except for the dates, it's exactly what we sent out the last
Right.
time. So I did add a qualification for McKinley Avenue
I saw
that
that.
there may be little to no work at all, but the bids are required to be per property, so that would just be not built. So we wouldn't be paying for that
Okay.
anyway. So
Who's doing it now? Is Connor still doing it?
it's Connor. He bought the
Brad,
service from Brad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have had interest over the years from other people. So this maybe you got opportunity to see what we get. So
All right.
All right.
So deadline is January 26th to
Yep.
do a mowing bid. All right. We okay with this going out?
Yeah. Yep. We need to.
Okay.
and we have all of our E911 updates sent to the state have all been updated. That includes all of the town hydrants, with the exception of about 2 or 3 we just found, are all online. It's about 140 or so are all on the state 911 address map now. So it's really good. So all our updates have been made. Town report is coming very, very soon. So I have department head reports from a couple of department heads, but not all of them yet. I'll need to remind everybody to get theirs in.
So what's your deadline date, Bill? Roughly.
So I'm hoping that you pick January 16th for the pre-town meeting date. So that way this room is empty from January 5th through January 24th, which gives me that perfect window because that's my deadline. So, that would be very helpful if you were so inclined. But I really need to have everything, by the 24th.
Okay.
A lot happens in that period of time. So,
Right. Yeah.
So we just get to it. Do I make a motion that we schedule a pre-town meeting for January 16th?
Motion's made.
Seems early, but
Okay.
Let the moderator check his calendar.
is that early than normal? Because
It
I
seems
always
early.
thought we were in the 20s, but
Yeah, that's what I thought.
but
So here's the question. It's a regular select board night. Have you checked with the school?
the school has asked us when we have planned it for, and
Yeah.
to let them know, because we do go first this year.
Well, here's the thing, because I have had a request.
Okay.
That we let the school go first, but let me first deal with this because they have to provide the Zoom capability.
Okay.
And remember from last year, and we had to make sure that it was the supervisory union that was providing it or something, and we couldn't conflict with some other dates. So we had to be really clear with.
So Chris Sell reached out to me and asked when this was
Okay.
happening, and I said it was going to be discussed tonight. And they didn't give me any indication that they had any restrictions on their schedule.
All right, so if we go with the 16th, but the schools, it's got to be at the school and the school's got to provide the whole Zoom thing.
Correct.
Okay.
But last year, I didn't think we
that
did.
was
Zoom.
the 22nd would cut you way too short because that's
So the 22nd is doable. That's fine. For the deadline, the issue becomes logistics because I literally push the desks back and fill this room with tables but that's
Right, but I'm just
I'll work
thinking
around
we
that.
would, I get
The
what you're.
only thing
yeah.
that really changes
Yeah.
is the budget sheets, and it's just getting the new copies out or the old copies
Yeah,
out
I
and new
guess it's
copies in. So
I guess the 16th is all right. We'll just do our board meeting.
that works great for my deadline if it works
So-
well for you guys.
Well, and here's what Tina Kesheva sent me an email. I have a request on behalf of the Rutland Town School Board. Traditionally, the school board and select board swap who goes first the evening of pre-town meeting. Instead of swapping this year and in the future, would it be possible for the school board to always start half an hour before the select board portion? It looks like the select board usually starts at 7. We were wondering if we can do our portion starting at 6:30. We believe 30 minutes is plenty of time for our presentation typically, but we would be happy to start at 6:15 to make sure there is enough flexibility for you to start punctually. We also think we might have more community members present for our part this way. Thank you so much. So I said I'd bring it before the board. I don't really care the back and forth.
Actually,
I've
I'd rather
noticed-
go second.
Yeah.
Because if we have our meeting, say we have our meeting at 5.
Yeah.
We're not rushed. I
Right.
don't like,
Yeah.
just to be rushed.
Yeah.
So we would have an hour and 45 minutes. Say we project our time to be at 7. They start at
6:30 or
6:30,
whatever they
whenever the
feel
hell
that they
wanna
want.
Start,
Right.
we'll be at 7.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about the school is that we can't do the online
Yeah, it's a
capability.
Yeah.
And that would be my goal in the future, because the years that we did it remotely and you guys did it from here,
Yeah,
the number of participants was like
absolutely
it was
tripled.
really good.
absolutely and
in.
Do we do it? Do we just say, hey, skip the school? We're going to do it in the select board
so
room?
there's that. I mean, there is that possibility that if people want to attend and
For the 20 that show
I
up,
was gonna say, honestly, there's plenty of seats right there.
we so it does give us the ability
you
if
gotta
we,
be in
if
two
we-
places, Matt.
Not a problem. Well, if we do it here, I could sit here with the computer and be on Zoom.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, or unless you mean the school, because they're gonna not come here.
Well, it depends on if the school board wants to come here,
The school board could come here.
we could do it all from here.
You would
that
be,
would make your meeting difficult because then
Right.
Yeah.
We'd
Yeah.
have to
can't
be
do both at the
somewhere
same
else.
time.
you'd end up filling a lot of these seats just with our people though. And
Yeah.
then-
That's true.
Once we complete our remodel downstairs, we'd have
Yeah.
we'll have a
Yeah.
wonderful
Right.
that'd be
Well,
great.
That's the
So-
plan.
Right.
So maybe we'll just stick
might
with
have
the
to run
school and the
another 3-year
proposal
term
is the
just to see this.
16th. All in favor of the pre-town meeting, January 16th at 7, please say aye.
Wait, hold on. What happened to the discussion about this start? This is just for our portion. Are we
This is
also
just our
deciding?
portion.
Right.
Was your motion including that they go first?
Sure, I can make my motion.
Yes.
No, I'm asking for a motion, so whoever makes the
Oh.
motion can.
So I would
I would
move that
vote,
we
yeah.
we go at 7, we let them go first.
Yeah.
On the 16th.
And as for the always, I don't have any opinion on that, and we'll deal with that in the
If we're
future.
gonna
but-
do this on a board night, like if we
Let's
did it the
try it.
22nd, it wouldn't be a board night.
Yeah,
Right.
So it might have a little different bearing, but
Yeah. let's try it for this year.
it's always been a board night.
Yep.
It seems like that meeting is always a board night.
Okay.
And
So motion is to set our pre-town meeting January 16th at 7, allowing the school board to go before us. Is there a second to the motion?
is that, but,
Matt's motion,
yeah, the second is.
second
but
discussion.
Isn't the pre-town meeting is school and municipal, right?
Yes.
So the timing would be school at 6:30 or 6 or whatever, and the board at 7.
So we would warn the board meeting for
7
7.
7 o'clock.
no the,
Or
the,
board
the
meeting would-
presentation would be
Right,
7
board,
o'clock,
yeah,
but the
board.
board meeting we still only have we still have a meeting.
I'd
Yeah,
say
we can
5.
do 5 or
5 or
5:30.
5:30.
Yeah.
So that.
Well,
so
let's
we have
just
a
deal
regular
with
meeting.
let's just deal with the motion right now to set pre-town meeting.
Well, I need to understand this, how this works from the board side, because, so do we have a meeting before the whole pre-town starts?
Right.
You're
Yeah.
not meeting, I hope, during the school portion. Is that?
Not
Sometimes it does.
usually, we go over a little bit sometimes, but
Well, so-
what we do
let you
is
go.
we
You can run out.
recess,
Yeah.
the select board meeting to go into the pre-town meeting. And then we come out of that, go back to the select board meeting to approve the budgets, any changes we make.
Right.
So we actually start and finish.
So, yeah,
So if
'cause
we
I'm-
start at 5, we'd go to about 6:30 and then you can go moderate and
now it's my intention not to run for the moderator position.
Come on.
So I'm not doing both. Because I do intend to run for the full term for this seat. So.
Okay. All right, so.
Yeah, I thought we would have beat him up enough by now.
Not that we haven't tried.
so we got to
Okay.
vote, right?
January
Aye.
16th, 7 o'clock. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Sharon, okay.
So that's the
Um,
meeting.
Unanimous. So, and then the school can go ahead of us, but we're not going to make a commitment like forever. So
That's reasonable.
that's fine. And select board meeting at what time on
I was going 5.
January 16th?
5 is fine.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
If we start at 5, it's usually an abbreviated meeting.
Yeah, it is.
It's a critical information only, so we don't run over it because it's not recorded. It's not a regular full meeting. So
I just
Okay.
knew that.
Okay,
Have to work.
okay.
I may not make that. I just thought of that, but that's okay. We're not changing it for me.
Okay, select board at 5 PM. Okay,
who gets to pick the order of who presents what?
oh,
Draw names of a hat.
well,
Shuffle them up.
It's
You
usually
just
the,
proceed according to the warning, but you may not have one. at
Well,
that
but
point.
like, so who presents the general budget? Who presents
okay,
fire
yeah,
budget?
usually what,
Yeah, but-
chair, so general budget's often the chair. Anybody want a piece of it? Because you've got the transfer station in there. We've got listers, we've got planning commission as well. Do you want me just to
I'm-
assign and you guys can complain about it, or what do you want?
It doesn't.
I want recreation, Mary.
Okay, Sharon's got
Do
recreation.
you want to try a novel approach?
Sure.
But the department has present their own budgets.
Ooh.
And
Ooh. Now we're really stirring.
I've always thought the department heads should present their budgets because they're the ones that
I agree with you.
and I don't have any ego that needs to me to get up there and talk about Dave's
No.
budget
What?
or anybody else's.
It's
budget.
not the ego thing. Here's the thing. We're the elected officials. The people entrusted us to take care of the budget. So I think it is our responsibility to do it. Now, the department heads should be there and they can answer questions like, I used to get highway question. It was like, Byron, so.
I just thought that would be.
But no, I think it's our
I like
responsibility.
delegating authority.
I know.
Put it that.
That, I think we're on the line for it. Yeah, sorry about
Chris will
that.
be there to announce that he's paying
no
for
try.
fuel for the entire town.
I will let you know. I may not be there because I do believe I might have a prior commitment.
Okay,
To go to Dartmouth that day, but
okay. So
Virtually highway.
Sharon's got rec.
it might be at 9 in the morning.
All right. You have any preferences?
As to what?
If you're here, what are you gonna take? Highway?
Do whatever you tell me. You're
What's
in
the
charge.
shortest ones?
You're
Highway isn't too bad.
Rec and fire are the shortest ones.
Yeah.
Okay, fire.
Matt?
Well,
Sharon wanted rec, but
Matt,
do that fire.
general.
Just did the police, so that's the one I'm most familiar with.
Or you
Okay,
could do the police. Kirk could do
Police.
the fire. I don't care.
oh yeah,
I'll
okay.
take all the abuse in the police.
Kurt and police, Matt. Okay, so Sharon's got rec, Joe's got highway.
If you want
It-
help with the general,
Okay,
we can all take a portion of it, whatever you want to do.
okay.
Because somebody has to read all no, do we have the articles? No, or we have them yet.
Moderator does that.
Moderator
reads the
does that.
articles. Okay,
And
so
he's
he-
still in, he'll still have to do it.
That exempts me from
You
everything.
did
else.
really screwed this year.
I know, really. Okay, Sharon's got rec,
Tough
Joey's got
questions.
highway if he's here. Kurt's got fire. I've got general and maybe I'll share it, maybe I won't. And Matt's got police. And if you're not here, highway is probably going to be
If there's
Kurt.
any questions about the police budget are out of order, so.
Huh, why didn't we think of that before? Okay.
Be a little running game.
All right. So what else have you got?
I have, since you are meeting executive session, I have a very, very quick security issue to bring up.
Okay, so that should be executive session. All right.
The
Just-
Dyer Road thing, Mary, did we agree to table that?
No.
I think that, well, yes, I think we did. We're putting Dyer Road on for January 2nd because we still want to take a look. You're going to call
Yes, I'll try to get the
Mondello and
information.
see if he knows where that survey is. A question for you. This is the original Stitzel page thing.
Okay.
Apparently I didn't sign last time. What did I sign then? And do we send it up to Kari?
Anything for the public safety building, is that the bond council?
This is bond council.
That went to Kari, so I don't know what she has.
Did I sign, what did they
Oh,
authorize me
Oh,
to sign?
yeah.
I signed on behalf of
Our
the town.
acting chair signed it.
Okay. Did you
So-
sign that last time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, then it went to Kari, so she
Okay,
has that.
just stick this in here and
She-
that,
she's
That
got the whole
should be
file.
signed. Yeah, that was,
that was signed already.
Yes,
Okay.
So what was the gist of this item?
So the last time there was a discussion on what to do with Dyer Road was when it changed from class 3 to class 4.
Mhm.
I went to the road book to see if there was anything in there that talked about its history, how the town got it, because that would usually tell us who owned or the bounds of the road. There was nothing in the road book about it. However, there was that. So I made copies of that for you to be able to use for your deliberative session if and so
Okay.
when you choose. I thought it was interesting. There's some very similar comments in that discussion than there there were from the
Yeah.
most recent one. So
Keep it for future reference.
Yeah.
for at least for 2 weeks.
Okay. So let's see. I think that is
everything.
everything except for executive session. And I would entertain a motion for a personnel matter with Chief Clerk joining us, an update on proposed land sale, another personnel matter briefly, and was there something else? Bill has a brief security matter. So those matters, is there a motion to go into executive
So moved.
session?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor of executive session, please say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, and Sharon.
Take Chris first.
So let's take Chris first and we'll excuse everybody else.
We're out of executive session.
Yeah, is there a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.